What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show powered by BetUS. Today, the Portland Trail Blazers lose their sixth game in a row to the Phoenix Suns, 116-109. And honestly, this game was, it was competitive. The Blazers were in it. They've tended to play better without Deandre Ayton. You had Donovan Clingan getting the start tonight. Robert Williams returned tonight. Had a little bit of an injury scare there in the second half, but returned, so everything seems good there as well. But yeah, interesting game. Of course, we'll recap it, but there's been a lot of trade speculation around your Portland Trail Blazers lately. We are going to dive in deep into everything, every little bit of trade talk tonight. It's going to be as much of a trade talk live stream as it is a post-game show. So if you're into that, then hang around because we're going to get into a ton of juicy stuff. Eric, how's your Sunday going, man?
Oh, it's all right, man. I was playing you in fantasy football, and my team laid a giant egg today, but that's all right. Still happy I made the playoffs in a very competitive league, so can't be too upset. Yeah, just wasn't my day today. So congrats, Tori. Then, had to watch the Blazers lose, so that was unfortunate as well.
Yeah, if you guys watch football, Eric had Jonathan Taylor on his team, and him fumbling the ball at the goal line basically summed up Eric's day, unfortunately. Fortunately for myself, my team did pretty well, and it was something that I didn't even have to worry about. And I was like, man, I don't want to have to stress about two of my guys playing Monday night. So luckily I can chill tomorrow night and look forward to seeing if I can win this league. I've tried for 9 years. Eric's won it before. I haven't, and we've been in this league for like 9 years. I forget when we added you. It was like a couple years into it. So I've been trying for almost a decade to win this league, and now I'm in the Final Four. So we'll see if I can do it. But yeah, had a good Sunday, man. It's always nice to end the weekend off fantasy wise because I care a little too much about fantasy football, and I'd be crashing out right now if I lost. So we got some basketball to break down, man. We got some trade talk to break down. This time of year is always fun because you really start to get a ton of trade talk, a ton of rumors and conversations, and I'm really looking forward to diving in on it. You had something about Jeremy Grant's asking price, right? And then we also have to talk about DeAndre Ayton sitting games with an illness. I'll just put that in quotation marks. There's just a lot to get to, a lot of news in the past couple of days for your Blazers, and we love that, so we're going to get into all of it. First, though, I want to recap this game, and Eric, so I was live streaming at Suns Valley Podcast during the game, and if you were over there, you heard me complaining about the refs the whole second half. Did you think the refs were awful in the second half like I did? Because I thought this game was terribly refed in the second half, man. I thought Phoenix was getting everything. We get called for like a million moving screens. Delano Banton gets Plumlee over the top of him and hits the deck, and that should have been a foul because Plumlee wasn't vertical. And then the flopping stuff, the Grayson Allen stuff that Chauncey had to challenge. Like, I thought this game was kind of a travesty ref-wise in the second half.
Other than a few calls that were wrong, I thought I wouldn't even have thought that the reffing was bad had I not seen you make a comment about it. So no, it didn't.
You didn't feel that way,
No.
Because I felt that way. And listen, like I never start streams talking about refs. Like we rarely complain about the refs on post-game streams anymore. Maybe it's because we suck and there's nothing to complain about, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty bad in the second half. Chat, let me know what you thought of the refs the second half down in that live chat.
For me, it's like it's exactly that. I don't. If I was more invested in winning or losing these games, like I think I maybe care a little bit. But it's not bad if we lose. It's not. I think it's fine if we win too. I'm not saying we should lose every game, but like I'm not.
So you're thanking the refs.
I'm not necessarily thanking them. I'm just like, it doesn't bother me if they miss a call or give a bad call against us because the end prize is still there for us. We're very rapidly moving back into position in this lotto race. And as we mentioned before, I think there's at least two players who are almost guaranteed difference maker maybe not stars, but definitely elite, high-end players that we could get at the top of this draft. And so that continues. As long as we have a chance to get one of those guys, I'm never going to be too upset this season in terms of refereeing or anything like that.
Yeah, I get it. Especially when I'm over there with the Suns Valley guys, though, man. I just wanted a close game. This team actually hung with it for pretty much the entire game, and this is a Phoenix team that has played really good basketball with Kevin Durant. So you can look at this and pencil it in as a good loss, so to say. But it doesn't really feel like a good loss to me, Eric, because there's just who are the most important young players on this team? I would say Donovan Clingan, Shaden Sharpe, Scoot Henderson.
Well, before you go on, I would take that a step further. I think Donovan Clingan is I don't have like any like doubts on his floor, so like I don't really even consider him like, oh, he's gotta show us something, right? Like he's already shown us enough, I think, to know that his floor is pretty high, and that I don't think he's going to be a star center necessarily, but like he's going to be a decade-long starter in this league if he can remain healthy. And so I think it's just Sharpe and Scoot that I'm most concerned about in terms of the young guys, in terms of development and stepping up and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is, I agree on Clingan, and that's a good thing for us that we can feel that way about a young player on this team because, you got Avdija, he's 23. I guess you kind of lump him in there. You got Kamara, you got Clingan. We all know that those guys are going to be really good defensive difference makers and aren't complete, garbage on the offensive end, right? That's good. Those are roles that you need to have. It's good to have an elite rim protector. It's good to have a two-way wing like Avdija who continues to play great. It's good to have a guy like Tamani, a 3-and-D wing. The problem is you're going to need stars. You're going to need somebody that can carry your offense, man. And I've preached patience with Scoot. I've also preached patience with Sharpe, and it was kind of in opposite ways. With Scoot, it was like when people were being really hard on him. With Sharpe, it was when people were ready to crown him as like arriving as a star after a couple big games. And I preached patience for both those guys with, I think, Blazer fans being a little too optimistic about Sharpe and Blazer fans being a little too pessimistic about Scoot. Okay? But we're starting to get to the point of the season where I want to see these guys improve on where they're struggling, and I'm starting to worry about the lack of it. Okay?
Yeah.
And we can start with Shaden Sharpe, and then we can talk about Scoot. Eric, I am worried about Shaden Sharpe's ability to shoot. I'm worried about his three-point shot, man. He is as bad of a three-point shooter as Scoot Henderson. That's not how it's supposed to be.
His rookie year, he's shot 40% for most of the season. Like he was actually contributing as a rookie based on almost solely on that three-point shot too, and it's just sad, man.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why he's regressed as a shooter, but it was like he had some flashes of stardom in year two, and people were really excited about it. But what did I say before the season? I said, okay, we still don't know if he's a decent or a good three-point shooter yet. We don't really know what he is as a three-point shooter yet. And people will reference, oh, look at his rookie season, right? Okay, sure, fine. But, I mean, in this game, Sharpe, from three, was being left wide open. There was almost possessions where, like, Phoenix was daring him to shoot, and he goes 1 for 8 from three. That is kind of alarming. That like he had so many open threes where Phoenix just seemed to disrespect him behind the arc, and that he goes 1 for 8 and can't cash them in. He was already shooting 28% from three before this game. That's only lower after this shooting performance, and this is on a almost 20-game sample. So, okay, yeah, you can say slump, but it's like, okay, what is his baseline then? What is his baseline? Because for his career, he's a 34% three-point shooter. He shot the ball decent his rookie year. His second year in 32 games, 33%. Now he's down to 28. I don't know what his floor is as a shooter, and it might be lower than we thought. And I'm just worried about the lack of efficiency And I know he's taken some playmaking jumps, but this season he's averaging 2.4 assists per game, 2 turnovers in 31 minutes. Like, that's not that impressive. The thing is he's not like the lead guard a lot of times when he's in. He's more off ball, but that's probably going to be the best role as an off ball elite scorer, right? At least that's the best role that we can realistically envision for him. Of course, we'd love it if he became Anthony Edwards and you can just put the ball in his hands and he'd go get you an efficient 27 a night. We'd love that. But realistically, it's like, okay, he's playing off of guys. But his rebounding's down this year. Down from 5 rebounds last year to 3.5. His assists are down. And it just doesn't feel like Sharpe's improving at all. And his energy seemed low tonight. And that was kind of strange to me. I don't know why that was. But he missed an easy layup. Even on like his backdoor cut on a play where I feel like he dunks it, he shoots a reverse lay it and just kind of seemed not like himself tonight. So maybe it's just a bad night. I don't know. But, dude, he has to shoot better. That's like the baseline. And that's something that I didn't expect to worry about this much, even though I was telling people before. He's not a proven shooter by any means. He's not somebody that you can count on to reliably knock down threes necessarily. He can hit them in spurts and get hot, and defenses should respect him for that. But tonight, it felt a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, his main concerns were scoring off the dribble, right, or whether he has a quick enough first step to become that go-to scorer. And I think if you can't hit threes, that makes it even tougher because you have to at least have people close out hard on you. And like you mentioned, the Suns were not doing that much in this game. And if you can't generate some drives based on people closing out too hard and then you go around them, and you don't have a super lightning quick first step either, I don't know how you're going to create that much offense. So I think it's vitally important for him moving forward that he locks in from 3 and gets that percentage up. I don't necessarily know how he can do that because, I mean, his form doesn't look bad or whatever. Like, occasionally he'll be off balance and he shoots some bad 3-point shots, I guess. But he needs to find a way to get those percentages up so he's respected as a shooter.
I think there's a couple things with the way he shoots the ball that might lead to him being a worse shooter, where it's not like something that looks bad, so his form looks fine, but there's a couple things I've noticed. One is his shot seems to be kind of flat.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be a problem with Anthony Simons. Like, Anthony Simons' rookie year, if you go look at his shot was flatter, and he shot 33% from 3. Like, once he got a little bit more arc, he became a much better shooter. I think Sharpe,
it was low, too.
Yeah, Sharpe's shot is kind of – his release is kind of low, and it's flat because of it.
Yeah.
And – you know, it's not like he gets his arm up when he follows through. He kind of follows through forwards, and his shot's just flat, man. And he had a shot that was in and out today where it's like, okay, well, when you shoot the ball flat, that's what happens. You end up with a lot of in and out where it hits the back rim, but the angle just isn't optimal. I think he needs to get a little bit more arc under his shot. Also, he has a habit, even when he's like, has time to step into the shot, catch and shoot, whatever, he has a habit of leaning left a little bit.
Yeah, we're back, yeah.
Yeah, but like it can be a normal shot and he'll lean left. And it's kind of always been a thing with him. And I think those are the two biggest issues with his shot right now. Because I think everything else is fine. It's just when you're shooting the ball flat, it's hard to make a ton of threes. Like you don't have optimal arc. And then also if you're leaning left, like I think that would throw off your shot a little bit. Like you got to get a little bit more under the ball. A little bit more straight up and down. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what the biggest issue is. This is for the Blazers to figure out. Their developmental process needs to be okay. Why is he shooting so poorly from 3? What is the biggest inconsistency? You know, I'm sure they track all their misses and can tell he's missing short or he's missing left, and they have NOAA tracking systems in their gym, right? I think it's NOAA is what it's called. Like, you got to figure out why he is regressing from 3 and why he's shooting so poorly, and you have to fix those inconsistencies. It is extremely important for his development because he's not much of a one-on-one player, but when he gets the ball swung to him on the perimeter in a game like this, it's like, oh, he's a non-threat. Like, you don't even have to close out on him. He's just going to miss an open three, and he's not going to drive past anybody. And that's scary.
Yeah, so I have a question for you and for chat. Let's say he finished the season. Let's say it gets a little better, but he still finishes, 32, 33% from three this year. And it's kind of looking like this, only he hits a few more shots, so it looks a little bit better. What do you do in the offseason with him? Coming in after his third year, that's the year that you can offer him a rookie extension. Do you offer him like 100 or something like that, hoping he takes a little bit lower, or do you take a risk that he could figure things out and break out next year and become closer to a max player or whatever?
I mean, it's a risk versus reward thing, right? So let's say they resign him 100, and it's $20 million a year as the cap's going up, right? Like, what are the odds that he ends up being worth that contract as he continues to develop, even if he doesn't develop like we all hope? I still think it's like decent enough odds, so I would probably give him that contract.
Do you think he accepts that?
But yeah, I mean, that's the question. Does he accept that, right? So if he doesn't, and you go into the year without an extension, and you go into restricted free agency, you do run into the issue of like, okay, there's going to be a young team with tons of cap space with like money to blow, and they're going to put you in a tough position with a contract sheet where even if he continues to struggle, like, yeah, you might end up paying him more. Or if he breaks out,
lose him for nothing.
If he breaks out and you have to give him a max because he's playing so well, that's a good problem to have. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, the only way it works out in your favor is if he really sucks and gets a cheaper contract. That's a bad situation anyway. Mm-hmm. So I would absolutely go and offer him this offseason, like 5 years, $100 million, because that's the most likely good scenario. If he sucks so bad that he's not worth it, guess what? That's a problem no matter if you give him that contract or not. So if his struggles right now, you're able to get him locked up on a cheaper rate and you have more flexibility going forward, great. Just hopefully he breaks out on that contract. So yeah, I mean, I would offer it this offseason if he's willing to take it.
Yeah, that's going to be probably the biggest storyline of the offseason if we obviously if we trade all the bets and stuff. It's going to be what do we do with his contract moving forward. Yeah. That's a tough position to be put in. I don't know, man. I feel like, I mean, maybe he is in a negative way, but I feel like Cronin's not getting any of that clarity he was hoping to have going into the season.
No. I mean, he got more clarity with the vets needing to be moved than anything. Mm-hmm. But we knew that. Like, we've been saying that since last season. So that's not anything that should be new.
Yeah. The minute we traded Dame, it should have been that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they have the clarity they're seeking. And I don't know why his shot is so bad. But he's just legitimately like, Eric, I don't think he's a particularly good player at all right now.
It's not bad either. It's just kind of...
He's inefficient volume shooter that doesn't rebound much, is averaging almost as many turnovers as assists, 2.5 assists per game. His defense is mediocre at best. And, like, it's fine because he's 21, right? And, like, okay, hopefully he can be great in the future. But, like, I don't think he's particularly good right now. And we're on year 3. How much better is he than he was his rookie year, is my question. He's definitely better, but how much? Is it better enough where you can have confidence that he's going to take off? I don't know. Because he's an inefficient volume scorer that doesn't do much else. It's the same thing that Sharp fans will criticize Anthony Simons for, right? Oh, his shot's not falling. What does he do for you? He's not efficient enough. Blah, blah, blah. That's Sharp right now. It's tough to feel good about that. And it's okay to be worried about that, but also you can still recognize that, yeah, of course he has a ton of time to figure it out. It's just you got to get his development on the right path. And it's like he has 2 great games, and what do I say after the 2 big games where he dropped 30-something? It's like, okay, we need to see some improvement in the consistency of these types of games, and we just have not seen it. If anything, he's been a little bit more consistent than last year, it feels like. Because last year he had like a really good 5-6 game stretch, if I recall correctly. This year it seems to be one-offs if he has a big game. So I don't know what they got to do to get him on the right track, but it's very important that they don't waste any time with properly developing him. And if there's issues with his shot that they can fix and improve upon, they need to figure that out and help him, because his 3-point shot he's like almost at times Derrick Jones Jr. offensively, where it's like great athlete, not a good enough shooter. And just kind of like floats out there and it disappears offensively. Mm-hmm. And we'll have like a big highlight play, big highlight dunk, but what else?
Yeah.
You're supposed to create more.
Well, I'm with a lot of people in chat saying it's hard for me to be like super critical. The shooting is one thing. I think that's something that each player can control themselves, especially with the kind of quality looks he got from 3 tonight. But in terms of like just overall roster and player development and stuff like that, I do think a lot of these players' issues could be solved with a coach that knows how to use them a little better. And it's frustrating to me that we're still watching this very poor Chauncey offense in play here. I know they had 30 assists tonight, but a lot of that was just self-creation and good interior passing. It wasn't necessarily good sets or anything like that. So I'm with most of chat who is just waiting on a new coach to come in and see what some of these players look like in a different system. Not saying that's an excuse for any of them, because Sharpe, like I said, definitely needs to play better and shoot better and not fall asleep. And he also needs to be I feel like his effort on defense is waning at times too. And that's like I said, things you can control yourself out there no matter who is coaching you. And so yeah, it's just it's a little frustrating right now though, because I always come back to, man, Chauncey doesn't know what he's doing though too. So how hard can it be on any of the players?
But like we've talked about, like, okay, maybe there's a little lack of fire. Somebody in chat is saying it, like Sharpe plays lazily and doesn't have any fire. I mean, it's hard to really argue with that. Garben says he's raw still, man. He missed 50 games last year. Okay, yeah, he's raw. But the thing is shooting is the most translatable thing, and shooting is like the one skill that you wouldn't define as like raw or not. Like either you shoot or you can't, right? And you can always improve, but it's like you see like Jerry McCain came into the league, knocked down threes 40%. Dalton Knecht came into the league, knocked down threes. Shaden Sharpe came into the league and shot 36% his first year, and it's like, okay, we're not going to have to worry about his 3-point shot. Is how I came out of his rookie year feeling. Like he's an athlete that can knock down threes. That's a great start. That has just fallen off a cliff. It's just fallen off a cliff. So it's like that plus like the fire he plays with, the effort stuff, like that's not stuff that you can just say like, oh, he's still raw. No, like that's stuff to worry about. I'm not as worried about like the dribble drive stuff. Like that's stuff that we knew was going to be a work in progress, knew he was going to need to improve on. Like the playmaking, passing for others, like he's not in a role to really feature him like that. And that was really bad his rookie year. He's definitely improved quite a bit in those areas.
He makes a few good passes, but it's still not like...
But it's like improvement, right? But it's like with his struggles as a shooter and with like kind of like the lack of fire, some lazy defensive possessions, it's like, okay, that stuff's legitimately worrying, and I can't look at anything else and be like, okay, at least he's doing this well right now.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like a little bit worrisome to me. At the same time, he still has a ton of time, okay? This is not, I don't want people to misconstrue this, because people love to misconstrue anything that's like criticism or constructive criticism or whatever. This isn't to say that he can't figure it out. This isn't to say that he doesn't have a bunch of time. This isn't to say that a 21-year-old third-year player who didn't play in college shouldn't have struggles. Okay, and he's had injuries. Like there's a ton that goes into this conversation. I was just hoping he would be look a little bit better right now. And I think the 3-point shot is like it feels like it's a little bit more than a slump, man. Because he shot 33% last year and he's shooting after this game probably 26, 27% from 3 right now. So it's just like the regression in some areas, especially the shot is the part that gets to me with him.
Also, I give him a pass if because he's had shoulder injuries to the last 3 off seasons as well. If that was a shooting shoulder, I'd be worried about it maybe being the issue. But that was his non-shooting shoulder, right? It was his left shoulder. Both of them are the same shoulder, right?
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure that's correct. So, yeah, if that's the case, it's not like Markelle Fultz where he, messed up his shoulder and it was mincemeat and he never shot the same or whatever. Like that shouldn't be still affecting his shot.
Yeah. And, we had conversations at the start of the year. Scoot has to earn his starting spot. Like, players have to earn their starting spots, right? Sharpe comes back, immediately gets thrust into the starting lineup. Okay? Has, like, a couple good games. Like, see, that's why they immediately put him in the starting lineup. But it's like right now, he's playing, even on games where he struggles, he's playing more minutes than Deni Avdija when Deni Avdija plays really well. Okay? Avdija played 28 minutes tonight. Sharpe played 32. Okay? And Avdija has been much better than Sharpe and much better than Scoot. And I know those guys are guards, but it's like, okay, why is that? If it's about earning your starting spot, earning your role, why is Avdija coming off the bench and Sharpe is starting? If that's what it's all about. But the thing is like, that's not what it's all about. It's not all about earning your role. Like, I argued back with people that said, oh, Scoot has to earn his starting spot in order to start. Like, no, that wasn't the case. You're trying to develop young players, right? So that's why they're starting Sharpe. It's not about him earning that spot. If starting spots were all merit-based right now, Clingan would start ahead of Ayton if Clingan played with Ayton. Now, they're purposefully making it so those guys don't play together, but that's another conversation. And Deni Avdija would certainly be starting.
We do have to talk about that.
Yeah. The starting lineup would be Anthony Simons, Deni Avdija, Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, Donovan Clingan. Basically the same starting lineup they had at the start of the year, just with Clingan instead of Ayton. If it was merit-based. But they're going to give Sharpe a ton of minutes, and that's fine. I'm happy with that, right? That's kind of what we said we wanted last year when they decided to start Thibault ahead of him. But, it's in a rebuild like this, it's never just about earning your role. We shouldn't have that energy towards Scoot and not towards Sharpe, because I don't think either Sharpe or Scoot have like fully earned a starting spot ahead of a guy like Avdija.
On Twitter during this game, in between all the Scoot sucks tweets, I saw several people saying he needs to just get control of the team and be given the starting spot in 30 minutes and full control of the team. And I don't understand. I mean, at some point, we probably should do that just once we trade everyone. But like, I don't think Scoot has shown anything to where he deserves that yet. So I think he needs to show a little bit more in the role he has before he's just been giving that. And like you said with Sharpe, I don't think he's been like terrible or anything. It's just he needs to, his shooting splits and his efficiency need to improve if he's going to answer long term. And it's frustrating because we went into this season hoping we had 3 guards, and we weren't even thinking about needing guards in the future. And now we might not have any that we can completely rely on, especially after we trade Ant, right? So
yeah,
and this is the problem when you rebuild without having ways of adding additional assets to it, because the Thunder could keep trying, right? They could keep every year. They could draft 3 players and make trades and accumulate more assets and stuff like that, and just keep doing it until you hit on a J-Dub or whatever. And we're in a position where we got our assets from the trades, but we haven't done anything really since then. In fact, we made the trade for Deni to like decrease some of the assets we had. So, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything. I'm just saying at some point we need to keep enriching our asset collection instead of relying on the players we have on this team. We need to have a really good position in terms of finding those players if they're not on the roster. And so, yeah, it's just it's crazy to me that like we're hoping for Dylan Harper in this draft now. You know what I mean? Like it's weird going from the last decade plus of a Blazer fan to all of a sudden now like thinking about guards and trades or drafting a guard or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I mean, it's always been a possibility that neither of them pan out, and you don't want to pass on a guy that will pan out because you're too overconfident in guys that haven't proven that they're going to pan out yet, right? So, that's a draft conversation. We Lacked Intensity in chat said he disagrees with my Sharpe criticism. He thinks it's just a shooting slump. I mean, the last 2 seasons, last year and this year, he's played in 50 games and he's shooting 30.9% from 3 in those 2 seasons. So I think it's a big enough sample to definitely be worried about his shooting. It's a 50-game sample. During that stretch, he shot 291 threes. That is more threes than he shot his rookie year. So, for his career, he's like 33% if you count his rookie year too. Like, that's still below average. That's still not good. So, like, statistically, I don't see how it can just be, like, written off as a slump. Unless you think he's just been in a slump his whole career. Because 33% is not good. It's just not. And it's like, you said what you said about Scoot, man, but it's like Sharpe right now statistically is trending towards being as inefficient as Scoot with a worse assist to turnover ratio. Like, I don't like to say that. That's just the way he's trending statistically. His true shooting percentage before his game was 54%. Scoot's was like 50.5. Mm-hmm. And Sharpe's is going to decline more after this game. Unfortunately, Scoot's is going to decline more too. But yeah. It's at least Scoot is averaging 5.1 assists with 2.9 turnovers. Sharpe's averaging 2.4 assists with 2 turnovers. And I get it, they're different roles, right? So I'm not trying to hold that against Sharpe. It's just like, is Sharpe that much better than Scoot right now? Like, I think they both are struggling, man. I think part of the thing with Scoot is like, okay, give him a starting role, give him the keys to the offense, and just see how he handles it, because he's definitely at least better. Even though it's inconsistent, he's better than he was at the start of last year when he was like the worst player in the league. So it's like, to me, okay, yeah, you start him and just see if he can grow comfortable there. With Sharpe, it's like he's been starting and his play has been dropping off. So I think that's kind of the difference there. But yeah, it's like they're close in this game, but it's like Sharpe and Scoot, man, when they play well, it gives me a lot more hope. And I don't know. I was hoping they would look a little better at this point. And that applies to Scoot, too. Scoot basically did nothing in this game at all.
Yeah, had a couple nice passes, and that was about it.
Yep. And I will say this, Sharpe had 5 assists and no turnovers. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's the thing with Sharpe. It's like, okay, find ways to impact the game when your shot's not falling. Play better defense. There was a couple times on the ball I thought he played decent defense today. And he had 5 assists, no turnovers. It's like, okay, you got to find ways to impact the game when your shot's not falling. And that's where it's like, in this game, okay, I that's a positive. On the season, he hasn't really done that. He hasn't really done a good job of, like, affecting the game positively. If his shot's not falling, he just disappears. And that's the thing with Scoot is, like, okay, when his shot's not falling, at least he can get into the paint, draw multiple defenders, and, like, kick it out for an open 3. When his shot's not falling.
Yep.
But still, like, Scoot's 3-point shooting is worse than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need a new shooting coach? Like I don't understand.
Does he bring the goggles back?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't understand why both of these guys, why almost every player on our team has had their shooting regress.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, what Tamani is the only one who hasn't, right?
Yeah, and you want to know what's funny is we're getting close to Avdija being the only other one who hasn't.
Right, that's crazy.
Because he was 3 for 5 from three tonight. He's been on fire. He was almost 35% from three before this game. Guys, like, it's funny just thinking back to when, like, Avdija can't make a three for the life of him. He is the worst shooter, and, like, Sharpe's looking like a star. And now, right now, you look at their three-point percentage. Avdija's, after this game, going to be above 35%, and Sharpe is going to be like 27%. It's crazy.
Again, that leads me back to the system that we run on offense. And I mean, what we were like, 5 for 20 at one point in this game shooting threes, like, didn't finish too much better than that. It's like we just kept chucking and chucking. 6 for 24, I think, at halftime. Like, at some point, you have to realize we don't have the shooting to have that kind of offense. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, we shoot while we win, like, but those games are few and far between.
Yeah. Just one more point on this topic before we move on. Comment chat said, Sharpe is going to be an all-star. He's the Blazers' future. Scoot shouldn't have entered the league. How did Mike Schmidt not see its faults? Dude, like, Sharpe is barely statistically better than Scoot right now, and Sharpe's in year 3, Scoot's in year 2. Like, saying Sharpe is basically for sure going to be an all-star and Scoot shouldn't even be in the league, that's just deciding which player you like more to me. That's just deciding that you like Sharpe more than Scoot. I don't know if it's because Sharpe's game is more aesthetically pleasing as an athlete or this or that, or just because he's had a little brighter flashes and you're fully buying the small bits of flashes that Sharpe is showing.
The dunks are fun.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, I almost feel like people will give Sharpe a pass because he's like a fun player. He's aesthetically pleasing. You know? I don't know. Like, I just don't see how Sharpe's playing like this and statistically is close to as bad as Scoot has been this year, and it's like Sharpe's going to be a star and Scoot sucks and shouldn't be in the league. I just don't understand the basis for that.
Yeah. I also, Chauncey's been going to the 3-guard lineup a lot lately, and that hasn't really worked out very much either.
I like that he's trying it, though.
Yeah. It was fine when they had, like, Clingan or Rodwell in the game, but when he had Jabari with those three, like, then, like, I think we're just way too small then. Yeah. But I think if we have Clingan or Rodwell, I think it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with Clingan, I like it because you can space it out and those guys can pass to him. I will say this from this game. We're getting pretty good at throwing lobs. Yeah. We didn't see much of them in the second half, though, it felt like.
No.
So I don't know where that went, but had some nice lob passes to Clingan. I mean, I feel Clingan. How would you rank the best players on this team in terms of having an impact upon winning basketball right now?
I think it's close, but Deni is one just because he plays more and has more of an impact. But I think Clinton's probably 2.
Dude, that's what I was thinking, man. That's what I was thinking.
Tamani, I don't know.
Like I don't know. Like, Grant belongs in there somewhere, but it's like Grant, when he's 8 for 10 from 3 like it was last game, is like number 1, but when he's not, you know, it's he can be near the bottom. So it's just like, what Jeremy Grant are you getting every single night? If you talk about like somebody that you can consistently rely upon to give you a positive impact that helps you win games, I think it's Avdija and Clingan are 1 and 2. Because I don't think you can consistently rely upon Grant. He's kind of a guy where, like, if his 3-point shot isn't falling, he doesn't do much else most of the time. And he'll just have nights where he just, like, has no impact on the game. Because we know he's a bad rebounder. He's not much of a passer. Like, defense is inconsistent. And he's only a positive defender if he's used in a secondary rim protector help side role. Right? Which he's not used like. And it's like Anthony Simons, when he gets hot and shoots the ball well, yeah. But, like, when he's not making shots, there's been nights where he hasn't been making shots. Luckily, he's been making shots recently, so maybe he belongs higher on this list. But it's like he's had a lot of nights where it's like, damn, he's shooting some tough shots and not making anything. And it's like, how is he positively impacting the game? I truly think Avdija and Clingan are the top two guys that you can consistently rely upon to have a positive impact on a game right now.
Absolutely.
Chat, do you agree? Do you disagree? It's the two guys we picked up. So if Cronin keeps trending this way, man, we're going to have a good team someday. So props to him for the past offseason. But
real quick, for those that saying Sharpe will be an all-star, you'll see whatever.
Base it off something. It's just like you're just saying it just to say it.
And that might be the case. We're not saying he can't be. I'm still relatively high on Sharpe as a player long term. I'm just like, it is just purely hope that you do that. You see that right now, because he is not playing like he has all-star potential. He is playing like he could be a solid starter player if he fixes his efficiency a little bit in the shooting, but he's not like a star level player by any means right now. So yes, he's shown a few flashes, but I don't think it's like we're being blasphemous to say he's not playing at an all-star level right now, and I don't think it's going to happen in 2 weeks like we lacked intensity thinks it'll happen.
There's a comment in chat saying that they think we're overstating Clingan's impact at this point. He consistently has a noticeably positive impact defensively. The difference between him and Deandre Ayton is night and day in terms of defensive impact. He also sets really good screens. He also rebounds well. Our rebounding numbers have plummeted with Clingan out. So all those things matter. He's not going to take a ton of bad shots. He's not going to mess things up much offensively, and he can finish plays and be a lob target. I mean, he's 5 for 7 from 2 today. We fed him. I don't know. That's pretty productive to me. We lacked intensity. You should never ask a question like that ever again. Okay? I'm going to remove that question. You should never ask something like that ever again. I know you're kidding, but no, dude, come on. Don't go there.
When have we ever been biased towards someone because of their color?
Yeah, come on, man. It's just I don't appreciate that joke, man. Yeah. Anyway.
There were I'm glad you think that's funny, Chief. There were 2 plays in this game in a row where Clingan was in drop coverage and still got big enough to contest 2 mid-range jumpers and force a couple misses. Ayton's not doing that. And no one else, even Rob Will, struggled a little bit with that, especially in the second half, with getting stuck in between a guard pulling up for a mid-range jumper and tagging the big. So I just think in terms of making little plays and being a force defensively, Clingan has been pretty much unreal as a rookie. And I mean, EPM doesn't, but most other defensive analytics, especially like rim protection stuff, he's in the top 10 of the league in terms of centers in that, not just rookies. So I don't know how you could really argue that he isn't having an impact when he's in the game. The problem is he just hasn't been able to play much. He's still under a minutes restriction, and there's the endurance issues and things like that. But I don't think you can argue that he's had an impact when he's played in most games he's been in.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I mean, he's been very impactful, and Deni has been really, really good, man, and that's a really good sign. He's statistically getting to the point where he was last year, and he has to play more minutes, Eric. I think. Like, I don't know how you keep him out of the starting lineup. I don't know how you're not starting your best player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and Clingan should be in the starting lineup. But
yeah,
I mean, I think with Deni, I think we got to trade Grant for that to happen.
That's why you have to trade Grant. Deni is better than him and has to come off the bench behind him and play less minutes.
Yeah.
It's just silly. It's just silly. Like Grant, here's how I'll compare him. The upside on any given night is higher than Grant because he can go off offensively, right? So, but if you average out their games and just look at overall contribution over like the past month, Deni Avdija has been a more positive contributor than Jeremy Grant has. And it's because he's a better playmaker, he's a better rebounder, he maybe the past month has been shooting a better three ball. He's stronger. He has been getting to the rim. He's been finishing better inside the arc than Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's shooting like 40% from two. Avdija's at 48%. Right? Defensively, he's better. It's just all those things add up, man. I feel like all those things get overlooked when people try and analyze impact upon winning basketball games. All those things matter. And that's why I like the Deni Avdija pickup. And he's been on fire from three. The past month, he's shooting like 40% from three. He hit a three that should have been an and one three. He went from like, you don't expect his shot to ever go in to now it's like, the past month, I feel like he's our most consistent shooter. Maybe not our best shooter percentage-wise, but he's been consistently making threes. It's not like where he has one night like Grant where he's 8 for 10 and then the next night he's like 1 for 8, 1 for 7. He's been consistently knocking down shots, and he definitely looks a lot more comfortable. I want to see him playing 33 minutes a game and being given a little bit more responsibility offensively because he has moments where it's like, man, look at that move. 6'9", quick, strong, pull up D-cell, Euro, and one, like that driving dunk he had against the Spurs where he beats Wemby down the floor and, like just stuff like that, man. He just makes things happen. And I just want to see what it looks like on a larger scale. I love the Deni pickup. There was people questioning what Joe Cronin gave up for him. And you guys know me, I'm always ready to criticize Joe Cronin, but I have gone to the point where like, okay, maybe it wasn't the best trade. Maybe they should have just stayed there and took and connect. But that was when he was shooting like 20% from three and like really, really struggling. But what was I always saying? I was saying just be patient with him. He's a legitimately good player. He'll figure it out. He's the type of guy that will figure it out. And at the very least, he does all these little things and he consistently plays hard and consistently gives effort. And it's like, you look at our transition defense with everybody else compared to him and it's like night and day. It's just stuff like that, man. Matters to me. And I think matters to this front office. That's why they gave up the 2 picks with Malcolm Brogdon for him. Deni's been great. I don't see how you can't keep bringing him off the bench for the rest of the season. Like, I don't see how you can keep bringing him off the bench. He's too good. Also, it's like he's not even the first sub into the game in the first quarter, which I think is kind of strange.
Yeah, they've been taking Ant out like 3 or 4 minutes into the game. It's last 2 games now.
Yeah.
They're just trying to bring him back with the second unit and give Scoot a little run with the starters, but which I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind, but Your favorite poster says, low volume shooter, don't be fooled. He's never been a good shooter for a long period of time. He's the best on the bench right now for sure.
Man. Okay, bro. You're just trolling. I mean, he was a good shooter on more volume last year than Sharpe has ever been on similar volume. And the thing is Deni's 3-point shooting, he struggled the first 3 years, took a huge leap in year 4. And this year he's getting right back up to 37% for the second year in a row. He started off terribly in a new situation, wasn't comfortable, wasn't confident, missed a lot of shots because of it. Since he's fixed that, he's been like 40% from 3 after 37% last year. That is much better than like pretty much anybody else on our team. Shooting is not a reason he should be brought off the bench. His shooting is actually beneficial for this team because defenders are respecting him now. Eric, have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Defenders are getting out on him now. He's now a floor spacer.
Give me just a sec.
Sharpe has never had a shooting run like Deni. Yeah, Deni shot 37% last year for the entire season. Sharpe has never shot 37% from 3. He shot 36% his rookie year, where pretty much all of them were catch and shoot until maybe the final 5 games where he got the keys of a tanking offense. Then he shot 37% from 3 last year. That's better than Sharpe ever has. Super Hachimitsu says Tori hates Sharpe confirmed. I mean, these are just facts, man. These are just facts. That's why I try and bring facts to the table. Because you can't argue with facts. Anyway, while Eric is gone, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS for sponsoring the post-game stream. You can use promo code YouTube150 and get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonuses on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. America's favorite sports book. You can get in on any sports. NFL playoffs are soon. You got some NBA specials, some trade deadline specials. We may take a look at them later on in this stream. We'll take a look at some lines. We haven't done that in a while. It's always fun to take a look at what BetUS has to offer, and you can check them out yourself. Check out BetUS. Use that promo code. Get a great deal. Shout out to them for sponsoring the post-game show. Also, this is a charity stream, okay? And there should be a donation link before. We're doing Toys for Tots. You can give money to help a kid in need get a toy for Christmas, because every kid deserves a good Christmas. So if the link's not below the stream, you might have to refresh it, but it should be below the stream, and you can donate through there. Christmas right around the corner. We'll be doing a giveaway on the 23rd. We'll be doing a Christmas giveaway. I'll wrap up a couple things. I already got the Santa hat, and I'll have a Christmas sweater. That should be a fun stream. So
nice.
Looking forward to that.
What stream is that?
23rd.
Yeah.
Yep. We can actually look at the schedule ahead. Let me load it here. We'll take a look at our event nights. We'll take a look at the Blazers' schedule coming up. And then we'll talk trade talk after Tankathon. We'll do Tankathon. Let me find it real quick. All right. So there we go. I have an old bottom ticker on there. Just ignore that. That's from a while ago. We need to get that coded still. This is the Blazers schedule. Look at all the L's down the left side. The right side is upcoming games. The Blazers lost 6 in a row, like I said. Defense has fallen off a cliff. Offense still sucks. It's always good when they can put up like 109, though. That feels good for the Blazers, unfortunately. And then it's not going to get much better. They have the Nuggets, Spurs, Mavericks twice, Sixers. We'll see how healthy the Sixers are. And Jazz. I think they can maybe win 2 of those 4 games if they play well.
Remember when we lost by 40 to the Jazz?
Yeah, true. But they'll get their revenge, I feel like. Yeah, look at that 40-point loss there on the left. I think they go 2-4 and end up, that would make them what? 10 and 22? 10 and 22? But we'll release our big boards, our latest editions of our big boards on the next stream. Then we'll have members night. It was supposed to be tonight, but we're pushing it to Saturday, December 21st. We'll actually announce a couple things for members. If you're a channel member, you have new emojis as well, so check those out. If you want to become a channel member, click the join button. On the 23rd, we'll have that Christmas giveaway. We'll have a call-in night on the 26th, and then we'll have New Year's night on Monday, December 30th.
Yep.
That's the upcoming schedule for your Portland Trail Blazers.
Fun streams, and then we also have a few games with some breaks in between. So
yeah, man,
including after tonight. So
yeah, we don't stream. We'll have a picks against the spread stream. Wait, is there any games tomorrow? How many games are tomorrow, Eric?
Is there just one for the NBA Cup?
Oh no, there's 1, 2, 3, 6. So we'll have picks against the spread tomorrow, and then we won't stream again until Thursday. That's the next game.
Tuesday, the NBA Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard.
Yeah, we'll see if Dame can win himself some hardware.
Well, he's got a Mickey Mouse MVP.
Yeah. All right, we'll do Tankathon. We'll take a look at the latest there.
All right, guys, before you do that, no one is saying that Sharpe. We're not hopeful that Sharpe can't be the player we all hope he could be. We're not saying that. We are simply saying he is not playing that way yet. We still are hoping he turns into that. It's much better for the Blazers if he does than he doesn't. I'm not going to chill. You guys need to chill and chat. Like you are putting words into our mouths. We are
Yeah.
not saying that we're doomed. Sharpe is a bust. He's never going to be good. That's not what we're saying. Like,
I'll just say this. I'll just say this. Some of y'all got to get better at listening. Some of you got to get better at listening, okay? Because like criticism of a player that you like that isn't playing particularly well, you guys like try and take that in the worst way possible.
And no, I'm not going to take blood pressure medicine. We lack intensity. You're the one saying, I think in February these guys will be talking about Sharpe being the Blazers' future. Yes, that could very well be the case, my guy. Like, sure, that could happen.
The thing is like,
I hope it does happen.
Here's what I mean by like, you guys gotta get better at listening, and you guys take stuff in the worst ways. Like talking about how he's struggling right now and worrying about like his struggles right now. You guys take that as in us saying he'll never be good or he'll never pan out or this or that. We never ever say that. And the thing is, I'll criticize this play right now and talk about how he's struggling right now, and I will literally say multiple times like, I'm not saying he can't pan out, and I'm not saying he can't be a good three-point shooter. I'm not saying this, I'm not saying that. I will explicitly say it because some of you try and take things in the worst way possible and will completely misconstrue things. I'll specifically tell you what I'm not saying, and then you come in here in the chat and you act like I'm saying like specifically what I'm not saying. You know? So I don't know, man. Nobody's saying that. I'm telling you that I'm not saying that. I never once have said some of the stuff that you guys are saying that we're saying. Why? Like, why put words in our mouth that I'm telling you we're not saying? Also, it's like, I will push back on stuff that's completely ridiculous. Like, there's a comment in chat that says, I still think there's a higher chance that Sharpe's the next Kobe than a bust. Kobe's like a top 10 player ever. Like, you guys are going to be really disappointed if your expectations like, oh yeah, he's more likely to be a top 10 player ever than a bust. That's just like insanely optimistic. Which, okay, great. If you're that optimistic, great. But it's not really reasonable because being a top 10 player ever, there's only 10 players that have ever played the sport that are top 10 players ever. So what? You know, that's wild. That's the type of stuff I'll push back on. But then it's like, oh, he doesn't like Sharpe because he doesn't think he's the next Kobe. Come on, man. Let's be more reasonable. Okay? Let's be more reasonable. Anyway, I say what I say, and I'll tell you what I'm not saying. Don't come in here and lie about what I'm saying. Just listen. Like, it's not too difficult. Anyway. Thing is, I won't even sit here and say, there's no chance he's the next Kobe. Shoot. There probably is a small percentage chance that he's the next Kobe. I don't think I've ever put any, like, set in stone limits on Sharpe. Never, ever. Okay?
Yeah. And, okay, if you don't want to be worried about Sharpe at all, because he says, all I'm saying is Blazer fans aren't worried at all about Sharpe. Okay.
That's fine. Don't worry about him.
That's
I'm
fine.
telling you I am. Like,
don't worry about him. But it's perfectly reasonable for people to be worried about why he's shooting now 25, 26% from three on the season and has not been efficient and has disappeared for long periods of time, just like we were worried about in previous years of him doing when he's off ball. Like, he doesn't seem to know how to play in that situation yet. And yes, we've talked about this multiple times on this show. We've talked about how the coaching does no good for these players. So that could be a huge part of it. And hopefully that's the main reason. Once we get a new coaching staff with a new system and the players learn that system, they're all fine. Like, that's the most optimistic outcome right now, I think, if we're trying to look on the bright side. But to say, like, oh, he's fine, he's done nothing wrong, everyone still thinks he's going to be a star, like, that's also a little bit extreme the other way. If you think we're being extreme in terms of our criticism, you can't also be extreme in terms of he can do no wrong and he's for sure going to be a star. Like there's got to be some sort of middle ground, as we always try to say in all these discussions. It's not a one way or the other type outcome. There's multiple outcomes in between star and bust. Like there's hundreds of outcomes that he could be. He could be a serviceable starter or a fringe all-star type player. Like and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like we can't say right now that he's for sure going to be one of those things.
And then, like, this is a perfect example of the type of comment that really kind of annoys me. There's a comment that says, Torrey sounds like he wants to put Sharpe on the trade block. Bro, if I wanted to put him on the trade block, I would tell you that I want to put him on the trade block. I would tell you if I want to trade somebody. I will always tell you what I think. I don't know why you're trying to guess at what I think when I will specifically tell you exactly what I think, and that's always what I've hung my hat on. I will never shy away from an unpopular opinion, and I will never shy away from telling you guys exactly what I think, even if I think most people will disagree with it. I'm not scared. So it's like, I have never once said they should be shopping Sharpe or they should trade Sharpe. So why are you sitting here in chat saying, Torrey sounds like he wants to trade Sharpe? How? I have never said that, and I would tell you, because I've told you with everybody else on this team I want to trade, that I want to trade them. So that's the type of stuff where it's like you're putting words in our mouth and you're just like baselessly guessing at bullcrap. I will tell you what I think, man. You never have to guess about what I think. For better or worse. Okay? So stop. Just stop. Anyway, let's move on. Hit a like on the stream. We got 42 likes. Hit a like. Player of the game, Deni Avdija, 59% of the vote. Avdija tonight. I'll pull up the box score. Shout out to him for winning player of the game. Let's see, 17 points in 28 minutes, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Did have 4 turnovers. I think a couple of them he should have gotten a foul call for, but, whatever. 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. Also got the fans Chick-fil-A. He's doing it all. Doing it all. You love to see it. He's playing great. What's funny is that person that I just talked about also had a comment about, like, oh, you were worried about Deni shooting. Now he's shooting great. It's like, dude, I was the number one person telling people to be patient with Deni. Wasn't I?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was right to be concerned that the 37% was maybe an outlier, especially after a start. But, yeah, I mean, obviously needed more sample size.
And one final thing I forgot to say earlier, and that will wrap up this discussion after this. Like, the whole point about, like, oh, Blazer fans aren't worrying about Sharpe. You shouldn't worry about Sharpe. I mean, that's what people were telling me coming into the season when I said, yeah, last year he shot 33% from 3, and for his career he's like 34%. So I don't know if he's going to be like a solid to good shooter. And now he's shooting 27%, and you're still telling me this. Well, okay, but it's not like he's proven to be a good shooter. There's just like no statistical basis to say like, yeah, Sharpe's a solid shooter or a good shooter. There's no statistical basis for it. You cannot tell me a guy that's currently shooting 27% from 3, shot 33% last year. The last 2 seasons in 50 games is shooting 30.9% from 3. And for his career is below 34%. You can't tell me he's a solid 3-point shooter. That's below average. And that's just a statistical fact. So it is what it is. Either he's going to figure it out or he doesn't. Either their Blazers are going to help him develop his shot or they aren't. I don't know. But it's not a good sign that he's shooting 27% from 3. If you think it's a good sign he's shooting 27% from 3, then I don't know what to tell you. Anyway. Let's go to Tankathon.
Good game from Deni.
Yeah, great game from Deni. Let's go to Tankathon. Do I have it up? No, I got to put it up. There we go. The Blazers are still currently holding 7th best odds in the lottery. I paused because we're actually I was going to say we're a half game back of 6th, but actually we are a negative half game back of 6th, Eric.
We're into 6th?
No, but we're 7th.
Oh.
Because of winning percentage. Philadelphia 7-16. We're 8-18. We are. Do you see the games behind?
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, we are negative half a game behind 6th. Okay? So hopefully we can make up that negative half a game. I guess. And we are only a half game out of 5th, which is cool.
Nice.
We're only 1 game out of 4th. We're only 2 games out of 3rd. We can still tank this thing to another level. You like the play on words there? Anyway, let's simulate it. Let's scroll from the bottom. And hopefully we move into the top 4 again. But every time we move into the top 4, I feel like we're 3rd or 4th.
4th only has 1 more win or 1 less win than us. We're right there. Yeah.
We're cooking. We're cooking. The Joe Cronin special is starting to play out. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about Ayton. We'll do that after Tankathon. Then that'll segue us into the trades and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, 14, OKC via the Clippers. 13, Atlanta via the Lakers. 12 is Sacramento. 11 is San Antonio. 10th is Chicago. 9th is Brooklyn. So far, so good. 8th is your Portland Trailblazers, which means Detroit moved up. At 7 is OKC via the Sixers, because that pick is top 6 protected. At 6 is Charlotte. At 5 is Toronto. At 4, Utah. Everybody's moving down a spot. At 3 is Detroit, moving up 5 spots. So it's down to Washington and New Orleans, the top 2 teams. At 2 is Washington, and at 1 is New Orleans. They get Cooper Fleck. New Orleans is interesting because they could trade like anybody. Apparently, they're potentially looking at trading Cooper Fleck or trading Zion Williamson. They're trading everybody. I think you might even trade Cooper Fleck. No, I'm just kidding. If I were them, I would take a hard look at like what you could get for Zion and literally every veteran on that team, and you got these Lakers picks coming up, and just like have a ton of draft capital and just completely start fresh.
They traded the Lakers pick for DeJounte.
Oh yeah, well, get it back. Get it back. I don't think that's a bad plan because they got some draft capital already. You could get a ton of draft capital and just really rebuild this thing from the ground up because they're building around Zion. Zion can't be the best player on a team that wins because he's injured too much and he's probably not good enough to be the number 1 player on like a team that contends. The problem is right now you're stuck building around him, and unless you get like a superstar that will be better than him in this draft, like how are you going to get that guy? So and if they were healthier, they would be a playing team and wouldn't be drafting at the top. They could still get there. It's like, okay, if you draft a player, keep this same team intact, you're probably a playing team again next year. So whoever you draft has to end up being a superstar. Like you're kind of stuck unless you can really package together some of your draft capital for a guy. But like you just traded picks for DeJounte Murray. I mean, DeJounte Murray is not a star. So where are you going?
Yeah, and so I guess the only untouchables are Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and Missy. So everyone else is available apparently.
If I were them, I'd explore trading Herb Jones too.
Yeah, if you can get a decent package.
Yeah, just go super young, like just completely restart. Because Herb Jones is like what, 24, 25?
Yeah,
I would say like go on an even younger timeline than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could get back a decent amount of picks for Herb Jones. Like, I think if there's a team to trade for Zion, you know who I think would really try and trade for him?
Who?
Like maybe a shocking team or a surprising team. Do you have a guess?
Well, I'm hoping you don't give Desmond the satisfaction of saying the Brooklyn Nets.
No.
But Staley says Miami.
No.
I don't know who.
Charlotte.
Lakers. Okay.
Doesn't that just feel like a kind of like sneaky pair him with LaMelo? You know.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of attention with him and LaMelo. You can still tank and like try and get whoever in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Brandon Miller, Zion, LaMelo, and whoever you get out of this draft, that could be something. And I think LaMelo can pass the ball and that would be an interesting pick and roll duo. I think Charlotte has some extra draft capital too, so
And when they're both injured all season, they'll get another high draft pick.
yeah, exactly. I also have a new destination for Ayton, but first
Sweet.
we have to talk about this illness he has. Eric, do you want to lead into this, or do you want me to?
Well, let me just say, okay, I know you have to get on a flight, and if you're sick, you can't. But I do think it's weird that on Friday, hours before the game, you're still questionable and you still have a chance of playing, and then are ruled out a couple hours before the game. Yet the next day, you already know that you're out for Sunday's game being sick. Like that, I mean, like I said, you have to get on a plane, but I mean, who's to say you couldn't just hop on a plane and get to Phoenix? It's not that long of a plane flight, right? So,
it's also just the timing of it all. Okay, so Ayton misses time with a finger bruise when Clingan starts playing well, and they want to start giving Clingan more minutes. Okay, when does Ayton return from that finger bruise? The first game Clingan is hurt. After missing, like, how many games did he miss? Like 4 or 5 games with a finger bruise?
I think it was more than that. I'll look up the exact.
So he immediately returns when Clingan's out. Okay. And then, so Clingan's out a couple weeks. The moment Clingan comes back, questionable with an illness. Clingan's questionable too. And then it's like, Clingan's playing. So, yeah, Ayton's out. Also, saw somebody talking about how it's a fake illness. Like, I talked to a lot of people, not necessarily that are like plugged in, but talk to other people, so stuff gets through the grapevine. I truly believe, and I might be wrong. I could definitely be wrong, but my gut says, yeah, he doesn't have an illness. They just, you just got Robert Williams back today, and they got Clingan, and they don't know how to handle the 3 centers. And Ayton has had his, bad spirit stuff with Chauncey, and Ayton is clearly going through the motions. How do you handle that when you should be playing Clingan ahead of him? You still pay him, and you give him an illness. It
was 7 games he missed with a deep finger contusion.
Finger bruise. And then he returns the moment Clingan gets hurt. And then he's out again the moment Clingan returns. That's fishy, man. That's fishy. Even if that's just like, just a huge coincidence. Okay. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. So, who knows when Ayton returns? Because here's the thing. How long could you keep going with the illness thing?
I mean, what Ant missed to him.
How many games did Ant miss with the illness thing? That was actually an anxiety attack.
I want to say it was 5, but it was 7 for. Yeah, it was 7 for. Let me see.
Good thing the NBA doesn't care about the Blazers, so we don't get fined for this. Todd Key says, "Why would you want him to play?" I don't want him to play. I don't disagree with what the Blazers are doing.
Yeah.
It's not us disagreeing with it. It's just us pointing it out, man.
Oh, he only missed 3 games.
Ayton?
Simons. Ayton missed
Simons.
7. Yeah.
Yeah, he missed 7 with a finger bruise.
The funniest part about this to me, I honestly don't know if Ayton would be cool with doing this or not. If you went to him and said, "Hey, we don't want you to play for a few games," I honestly can't tell you for sure if he would be okay with that or not.
Eric.
I'm not saying he is or isn't. I don't want to say that far, Tori. But like the fact that I don't know what he would say to that, whereas most players, like he'd be like, "Hell no, I'm not sitting out with an illness. I'm not sick." Like that's pretty funny.
You want to know why I confidently say that? It's because of what he said in the past. What has he said in the past? I don't have anything left to prove. I'm a max contract player, and I'll continue to be a max contract player. Okay. He also said success is making it to his second contract. So as long as the man is getting paid, nothing left to prove, and he's successful, and everything's good as long as he's getting his money. Okay. And there's games where he's just like clearly going through the motions and like isn't thrilled to be out there. And we heard stuff in Portland and in Phoenix that he like stays up all night playing video games.
On his air mattress.
On his air mattress that he has for half a season because he doesn't make enough money to buy a real bed, apparently. Also, apparently he lives in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I wonder where, man. I wonder where in Vancouver. Like, why does he live in Vancouver? Yeah, he doesn't have to drive, 30 minutes to the practice facility in rush hour traffic. Whenever, I don't know when they practice, but it's like, just everything's so weird with him. Like, I think he'd be perfectly fine. Like, okay, cool, I can chill and I can hang out and I can play video games and I can relax and enjoy my air mattress and my Vancouver home. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he has any issue with it. I think that's part of the problem with Ayton is he doesn't care. So I don't know. He's a guy that just like wants to have fun, and I don't know, man. It's like you can't get mad at me for criticizing him and saying like, yeah, he cares most about his money, because his comments have been, I have nothing to prove. I'm a max contract player, and success is making it to my second contract. He said that. That's not me putting words in his mouth. That's stuff that he said. So that's what he said. He's told us where his priorities lie. And he has not been good in Portland. Like, it's a failed experiment. It's a failed experiment. You got Clingan. They obviously want to play Clingan instead of Ayton. This illness to me is pretty clearly fake. Just too much of a coincidence. But maybe it's real. Maybe it's real. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's just we've seen fishy stuff before with this team. So
just the fact that you have it perfectly lined up now twice in a row with someone being out and then back in. And whether it's intentional or not, or, all that stuff, I do know the Blazers would much prefer him to not play right now than to be. They want to play Rodwell and Clingan right now. And so, yeah.
There has not been a single game. Well, actually, I think there's been one or two games. Maybe it's just one game where those three guys were all dressed, and it was Robert Williams' first game back where he didn't play. Other than that game, I don't think there's been a single game this year where all three players have been dressed and, played. Chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's fully by accident and fully coincidental. I don't disagree with it at all. I actually agree with it. It's just funny, man, because, it's not how you're supposed to do things. It's not by the book. But, I mean, so, we talked about, how are they going to manage these three centers? Well, we have the answer. They're not.
So, who's your new team for him?
Okay, so there's a team that is looking to trade a center that's playing really well this year and is in his 30s. Okay? But this team has never fully embraced a rebuild, it seems. And it seems like they just want to cash in on this center's value, because he has a lot of value right now because he's playing well. But I don't think they want to fully go the rebuild route, and I think they want to go for a younger timeline and would ultimately need a replacement. Eric, who is this team?
Bulls.
Yes. So I think ultimately they're going to get a deal that they can't pass up for Vucevic, and they're going to get picks back because they didn't for Caruso. But I don't think it's going to be like, okay, we're going to get back picks if we want a full rebuild. Like, how much are you going to get for Levine? You'd still be in position maybe for a play-in berth, right? You get the money down the line, go up to the play-in, maybe you play your way into the 8th seed, who knows, right? I don't think they've always shied away from a rebuild. So if they trade Vucevic, they're going to need a center. And they can get a center that fits their young timeline. And what team would be dumb enough, what front office would be dumb enough to trade for Ayton? Probably Chicago's.
Yeah. I'd be cool with that.
So, I don't know exactly what the trade looks like, but I actually had a couple of trade ideas that I'm a read off to you if I can find my phone. I don't have my phone. Where's my phone?
While you're doing that,
Yeah.
So another thing I saw today was, I think it was a Detroit writer or something saying that the Pistons need to trade for Anthony Simons.
Yeah, that's been a team for them.
The first comment I saw in there was someone saying, "No, we need to go after Ayton instead if we're trading with the Blazers." And I was like, "Please, yes, please."
You want both of them?
If we get a team to be dumb like that.
I mean, yeah, because Duran hasn't progressed like people hoped this year, so
he's fine.
He's fine, but you expect him to continue to improve going into year 3. He's 21, right? It's kind of that third-year slump.
Yeah, the Bulls have Lonzo's contract. So.
They have Lonzo's expiring contract. I actually had a trade idea, but yeah, let me go find my phone. I'll be back.
Yeah, there's probably another team that would take Vucevic. So, is he expiring or does he have 2 years left? Let's see. Looking at Vucevic's contract real quick. Oh, he still has another year after this one. Yes, he'd probably want to find a third team. You could actually save some money if it was Ball and Vucevic going out, with Vucevic going to a third team, Ball going to us as an expiring contract, and then maybe even sneak your pick out of it. Pick back. Yeah, I don't know what team Vucevic would fit for. I know the Lakers and Warriors were interested in him at one point. The Warriors are going to have a tough time making a trade unless it's a really big one, because they'd have to justify trading Wiggins now at this point, pretty much, for anyone they trade out, since they traded out their big expiring and Melton for Schroeder. So they're probably going to have a tough time going for Vucevic. Pacers in the market for a big, a backup big. They're more of a Robert Williams team. They have trouble matching big salaries because the only real salary they have to trade out is one of Toby or Obi Toppin or Jarvis Walker, and those guys don't. I guess you could probably get close with Toppin.
Who are you talking about? The Pacers getting
Vucevic. We're just trying to find a team for Vucevic.
I actually think so. This trade idea involves Pacers getting a center, but I actually think they could be a team for Robert Williams.
Yeah.
You could hypothetically play Robert Williams next to Miles Turner because Miles Turner can shoot. You need the backup center depth. You need defense. Desperately, they need defense. I think Robert Williams would actually fit very, very well there, if healthy, of course. And Jarvis Walker is obviously the prize. I think like that. My dream for a Robert Williams trade is you get back Jarvis Walker. Okay. Now, I think they might have to get back a little bit more with Rob Will in order to give up Jarvis Walker, because he's highly touted prospect that they drafted 7th overall and just hasn't gotten a chance because they are a deep team. So this first trade idea, Eric, it's kind of like different pieces, but I lumped it together. It's a 4-team trade. I'll do my best to explain it, okay? And I want to know what you think. All right. So first off, the Lakers are getting Jeremy Grant and Uprise. And the money on this is at least very, very close if it doesn't work. Like, it's at least extremely close. Because I was, like, adding up numbers, and, yeah, I don't know.
Close might not be good enough with some of the apron situations.
Yeah, are the Lakers in the apron? Because
Yeah,
I know they're really really close. So I think
they're close to the second apron.
you can add the salaries if you want, but basically it was the Lakers getting Jeremy Grant and Duaparith for Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Maxwell Lewis. Okay, that's the matching salary. Maybe they don't get back Duaparith, but then they also give up a 2029 first-round pick. Okay, so it's the Lakers trade, but they don't give up D'Lo, they don't give up Rui. All right, and they get back Duaparith if they can. If not, then you don't have to include him. All right, so Gabe Vincent. If the Blazers end up with Gabe Vincent in a trade, I would try and flip him to the Clippers because the Clippers are $2 million into the tax. I would try and flip him for PJ Tucker, who hasn't played all year, and Nick Batum, and hopefully attaching some second-round picks and them ducking the tax will allow that to happen. I think that's like the best-case scenario for offloading Gabe Vincent, who makes $11 million this year and next year, so he's not an expiring contract. Both PJ Tucker and Nicholas Batum are expiring contracts, and Nicholas Batum could be a good mentor to get in-house for the rest of the year for Ryan Rupert. They're both French. That Rupert looks up to him, kind of have some similarities. So that's like my dream for offloading Gabe Vincent, so that's a part of this trade. Okay. But then the Pacers get Robert Williams. The Blazers get back Jarris Walker. Okay. And the Pacers get back. So in this trade, the Blazers are getting a 2029 Lakers first for Jeremy Grant from the Lakers. The Pacers get the worst of 2029 firsts between Portland, LA, Boston, and Milwaukee. And Portland gets the better of the 2029 Lakers first and the worst of the Portland, Boston, Milwaukee first that they ended up with after the Avdija trade. So basically, the Pacers are trading Jarris Walker for Robert Williams III and the worst of a 2029 first between Portland, LA, Boston, and Milwaukee. I know I threw a lot at you there, but just what's your thoughts on that?
No one else is going out for them.
So Jarris Walker is making like almost $7 million, so that's the 200%.
I think they're right up against the tax line, though.
Yeah, they're borderline. So like, well, it's the first apron changes the rules, right?
But they don't want to be a tax team. The Pacers are a small market team. I've heard they're not going to go into the tax for any reason.
Yeah, so there is some smaller contracts that you could attach back the Blazers' way to make it work. That, I have to look at their payroll, but I'll look up their payroll right now.
Also, so just from what it seems like for the Lakers,
yeah,
they are stuck in a situation where making a trade for someone like Jeremy Grant doesn't really help them be any better this year. So I've actually heard that they would only trade their draft picks if they get someone big. That's why they're looking at players like Jonas Valanciunas and Robert Williams, because they're hoping to get someone without having to get a first-round pick. So at this point, I would be surprised if any trade if the Lakers gave up a first, unless they were getting like Jimmy Butler or someone like that level player.
Yeah, I mean, so like.
Also, Batum is starting right now on the Clippers, so I don't know if
is he?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. Yeah, because I looked through like every stat line. I was on 2K last night looking through every stat line from the year, and his stat line didn't seem too impressive. It didn't seem like he was playing much. But basically, the structure of this trade, you can exclude the Clippers, you can exclude the Lakers, and basically it's you trade Jeremy to a team that gives you back expiring contracts and a 2029 first-round pick, and then you go to Indiana and you take – because Portland already has the worst of Portland, Boston's, and Milwaukee's 2029 first. You lump on the new 2029 first to it, and you trade the worst of the four to Indiana with Robert Williams and hopefully get back Jarris Walker.
Yeah.
And in Portland's case, you get the best of the new 2029 first that you got for Jeremy Grant, and if that pick is better than the worst of Portland, Milwaukee, Boston, then you get the better pick. So you do upgrade that pick, most likely, on top of getting back Jarvis Walker for Jeremy Grant and Robert Williams. Would you take that, depending on the first, if you're Portland?
Yeah, I think I would. At this point, though, I think Robert has enough interest to get a first on his own. I don't know if we'd have to include a first in that.
Well,
We might
you're getting Jarvis Walker back. I think
No, I
Jarvis
know,
Walker
but
has more value.
I'm saying I think his value around the league is close to that. Maybe not to the Pacers, but in terms of what you could get. And I've also heard that the Pacers aren't really looking to get draft capital. They're looking more for players that would help them out.
They're going to Robert Williams. So I mean, the question here is, would they trade Jarvis Walker straight up for Robert Williams? Because then you don't even have to worry about the whole pick thing.
Yeah.
My thing is like, okay, they probably want a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So what is that little bit more, considering it probably could not be salary?
Well, what I'm saying is I think there's enough, like unless you're really in love with Jarvis Walker, but you could say, hey, there's like 3 teams that are willing to give up a first for Jarvis or for Robert. Like, so we're going to take one of those deals unless you just give us Jarvis and
you try and do it straight up. Of course, you try and do it straight up, but you might have to get a little bit creative where like, okay, they feel like doing it straight up isn't good enough and you got to get them a little extra value. Even if that's like a late future first, like that's something extra, right? So it's just like, what is the perceived difference in value for the Pacers between Jarvis Walker and Robert Williams, and can you reasonably make up that value if you're Portland? Because I would like to take a flyer on Jarvis Walker.
Also, Detroit with their trade over the weekend, or not trade, they cut your boy Paul Reed. I think they signed someone to a non-guarantee, so this could be a little different now, maybe $1 million less, but they have up to $15 million in cap space. I think they're the only team that has more than the mid-level exception still.
Yeah.
And also, side note, I was thinking about this thinking about trades today. The Blazers technically still have that option as a trade exception to like if they made some trades and took back lopsided salary.
Yeah.
So I think Detroit might be an interesting team to either get a player that's useful that Portland doesn't want because they're on multiple years, like Grayson Allen for Robert Williams. And then, Rob will look pretty good against the Suns tonight. And then, maybe they're willing to take Grayson for free. So you basically clear Robert Williams' salary and then maybe pick up a little bit of draft capital from one of those 2 teams or something. But that might be a way to go about some of these trades, is using a team like that can absorb a salary.
Yeah. Like I just want to try and find a way to take a flyer on Jarvis Walker.
Yeah.
It's much better than just getting back a random first that's going to have protections on it for Robert Williams.
Because people will say isn't the point is that you have a long jam of forwards, that's why you want to trade Grant. But the difference is you take Grant out of the equation, you put Deni into Grant's minutes, and then you give whoever that newcomer is, the promising forward, whether that's Jarvis Walker or someone else, you give them Denny's current minutes and role. And I think you have a perfect 3-man rotation at forward then.
It's much better, because Deni should be starting ahead of Grant, and you're basically swapping Grant out for somebody that can then come off the bench behind Deni and has upside and is a future part of the core. Yeah. And maybe fits your identity that you're trying to build a little better. I think Jarvis Walker would. So that's where I don't think Pacers are going to be interested in Grant. I do think they'd be interested in Robert Williams, but I feel like they're not going to want to give up Jarvis Walker straight up for him. So I don't know how you figure that out, but I will say this, like, I was just kind of looking at, like, if you ended up with Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt, hypothetically, in a Lakers trade, because I still think there's going to be a chance that they trade for Grant. What that chance is, I don't know, but Jared Vanderbilt, I don't really want his contract on the team. Gabe Vincent, I don't want his contract off on the team. So If you could offload Gabe Vincent somewhere, you do it. I think for Jared Vanderbilt, I think the one trade that makes sense if you want an expiring for him would be trading him to Sacramento for Trey Lyles, because Sacramento needs defensive help. Trey Lyles doesn't really help you with that. He's making $8 million. Vanderbilt's making like 10 point something, a little bit more than 10. So I think straight up they might take a flyer on him. He has his injury issues, but if he's healthy, I think maybe you could do that swap. I also think who do you think are like the top landing spots for Vucevic?
Well, I thought it'd be the Lakers till a couple days ago. I see the Suns would be very interesting, but they'd
have to
have contract problems. But if they made a move like the Grayson Allen thing to clear his contract, I think they could maybe then trade out Nurk and get under the second apron. It'd be close. Maybe you could do something there, but I'm trying to think who else. I think the Warriors. I mentioned this while you were away, but I think they might have a tough time. I don't think they traded Wiggins for Vucevic, so they're going to have a tough time matching Vucevic's salary now that they traded out Melton's contract.
Yeah, I think GP2, Looney, and Moses Moody gets it done.
That's true. They have those three. They're hard capped. They just sign a couple people. They'd be close. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Because GP2 and Looney is like $60 million, and then Moody is like $5 million, so that's more than Vucevic. I do think that's a team like. If you're the Warriors, like you got some picks, right? Apparently they want Jimmy Butler, like a couple picks with those contracts for Vucevic, and then Wiggins, Kuminga, and Kyle Anderson. And I don't know if they can make the contracts work to get to Jimmy Butler, but like if you could have Vucevic and Butler, that'd be interesting.
You know who would be? People are saying Memphis in chat.
Yeah.
That might be a place for him. You know what? This is going to sound crazy.
Yeah.
You know who I think would be the best fit for them now that they have a good defense?
Orlando.
Yeah. Back to Orlando.
Yeah.
For free, basically, after they got it done for him. Yeah.
So with like the whole Ayton Bulls thing, it's like, okay, wherever the Bulls trade Vucevic, okay, the Bulls can bring back Moses Moody, young player, right? If it's like Golden State, right? Or if it's another team, like they can take back a young player. But you're basically, if you're Portland, I would try and make it a 3-team trade. The Bulls can get Ayton to replace Vucevic, aligns more with their timeline. And if you're the Blazers, you get back Lonzo Ball's expiring contract. You can buy him out if you want. And you get back whatever expirings from the team trading for Vucevic. Right? So, like, hypothetically, if it was the Warriors, the Bulls get DeAndre Ayton and Moses Moody and a couple firsts from Golden State. All right? Golden State gets Vucevic. The Blazers get expiring contracts that they would then buy out. The reason why I'm saying this before I name the players is because the Blazers in this trade would get back Lonzo Ball, GP2, and Looney.
Yeah. All expiring?
All expiring.
Yeah.
So you buy them all out. You get off Ayton's contract. Now, if the Bulls really want Ayton, then you say, hey, we'll give you a couple seconds for our first-round pick back.
Yeah.
And maybe you solve that issue.
Yeah.
I think it would be tough, but like that is probably the most idealistic situation for Ayton. And you can substitute the Warriors out for like any other teams that would trade a couple firsts to the Bulls and expiring contracts to the Blazers in this 3-team trade.
Yeah. I think we should not buy out GP2 just to mess with him. Make him come to every game and just be miserable on the sidelines.
I know, God, dude.
Have his home crowd boo him every game. Yeah, that'd be.
God, I don't even want him on our bench. That's gross. It would be funny just to trade for him back, just to buy him out from the contract that we gave him.
Yeah.
Cole earlier said we were clipped on Reddit. Oh boy, what'd we get clipped on? Somebody Taylor's on Reddit. Taylor, what'd we get clipped on? I'm curious. I'm sure it's just the nicest stuff being said in there. Yeah, so that's just kind of like some structures I was looking at trade-wise. Like if you could get Jarris Walker and then offload Ayton for expirings and get back like a first in the process for Grant, Rob Will, and Ayton, I think that's probably a win, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you still have Thibault, you still have Ant, but you figure out those things. All right, so I've seen news today.
Riley tried to clip you saying Sharpe is just as bad of a shooter as Scoot.
Okay.
I mean, he did say it.
Right now, statistically, Sharpe is just as bad of a shooter as Scoot this year.
There you go. There's a clean one for you to clip.
Yeah,
right?
Clip it, put it on Reddit. Put this part in too. Statistically, that's what the stats are. That's facts, okay? This year. All right? Shoot, last year there was less than a percentage difference in their three-point shooting. Sharpe does shoot on more volume. Sharpe does shoot probably a little tougher threes. So I would not say that Scoot is a better shooter. I think if Sharpe had Scoot's shot selection, he would shoot a little better percentage. The thing is, in tonight's game, he kind of had Scoot's shots. 1 for 8. But also, stop trying to clip things with no context and put them on Reddit, because that's just you being an asshole. But thanks for the promotion.
Now we know exactly what Riley's purpose is here.
Yep. I told you, he just wants attention. He just wants to stir the pot. He also apparently really wants to promote this post-game show, so we appreciate that. Thank you for the free advertisement. Didn't even have to pay him. Super Hatchimer2 says, Reddit's an echo chamber. They don't care about context in there. I mean, I go on Rip City Reddit. I'm not going to lie. I don't comment, but I do read a lot. And we have a lot of similar opinions, man. We have a lot of similar opinions. It's kind of weird. But
the only time I ever go on Rip City Reddit is when someone links something saying you got to look at this or something.
I know. And we have a crew of people there that just like hate our guts like it's personal to them. And you know, it's fun. It's fun to read. It's fun to read the hate comments. So, but we got a lot of people there as well from this chat. Taylor, I think Trevin spent some time over there. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Arrow, yeah. 3 of our mods. We got insiders over there.
I will see what, Johnny. Come on.
SXKJX says the Sharpe militia is crazy. People do anything to defend this man, even with his bad play and low motor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah. I don't want to criticize his motor too much. I don't think that has, like, his I think a lot of players on this team have effort questions or effort issues, and a lot of them are vets. And it's not something that's held accountable too well, so that's why I don't criticize Sharpe a ton for that. But, I mean, he's clearly struggling from 3, man. Like, he's clearly struggling. Like, anybody that argues otherwise is just trying to be optimistic or trying to ignore that he's shooting 27% from 3. It's not good.
Yep. I mean, I was famously overly critical of questioning his basketball IQ prior to the draft process. I still don't know what level it's at, but those concerns are somewhat valid, I think, and I I don't know, man. It's I'm hoping once again this is just a coaching situation, and the right coach in here could. I think we need an offensive minded coach that can unlock some of these guys, and I think uh, one that requires constant effort from their players, and just quite frankly just takes them out of the game if they don't give the effort that they are expected to have. And so hopefully a new coach solves a lot of these issues. But yeah, as of right now, it's hard to say that outside of extreme athleticism, and obviously the ability is there, the talent is there to be a really good player. Does he have the drive to become that player is yet to be seen.
Eric, you'll love this. You'll love this. All right, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up.
You put it on screen.
I'm gonna put it on the screen.
Is this a Reddit comment?
This is the Reddit thread.
Okay.
Brother made a whole thread. Okay.
I'm assuming there's a lot of people defending Sharpe.
No, actually, it's not as. There's only 4 comments. But yeah, I will. Let me set up this window capture. I need a window capture on this scene. It's funny. It's funny, man. All right, here you go. Wait till you see this title. Wait, is it on the screen? There you go. Yeah, there we go. Blazers Uprise YT claiming that Sharpe's as bad of a shooter as Scoot. That's the title. From Much Yogurt.
Wait, he just linked YouTube?
I don't know where the... Oh, it's a clip. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a clip. All right, let's look at the comments, all right? This is honestly ridiculous. He's a young player in a slump. If you actually watch the games, you'd see the mechanics are there, and a lot of these shots are on target, either short or rimming in and out. Yeah, it's because he's shooting flat because we are watching the games. Yes, that's exactly what we talked about, brother. He's a good shooter. It's just not falling. Well, to be a good shooter, your shots kind of have to fall. Look at Keegan Murray, for example. Oh, boy. As the season progresses, he's going to find a shot back, especially once Ant and Grant get traded. Yeah, if he starts shooting 40% from 3, guess what? I'll talk about how he's shooting 40% from 3. And guess what? If he shoots 40% from 3 the rest of the year and Scoot shoots 30, at the end of the year, percentage-wise, yeah, he will be a better shooter than Scoot. Pretty simple. Gotta love this next comment. He is? Question mark. I love this comment. Are they just talking about percentages here? Because Shaden definitely has a bad shooting percentage this season. Yeah, exactly. Somebody gets it. Love it. Yes, we are just talking percentages. Another comment. It might be off the screen. He's got beautiful form, but not consistent. He needs a shooting coach. Also what I said. Look, Eric. We got some agreement.
Yeah, but all these people think that you're wrong and they're right, but you're saying exactly what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a young player in a slump. I mean, the last 50 games, he's shooting 31% from 3. Like, it's not like it's on a 5-game sample size. So, Trevin says refresh. Oh, all right, let's see here. Scoot, 40% field goal, 27.9% from 3. Shaden Sharpe, 42% field goal, 27% from 3. Yeah, that's just as bad. LMAO. Another one down at the bottom. Yeah, nice try. Nice try. You tried clipping us with, limited context, and it freaking backfired. The last comment. I mean, they're both booty cheeks from 3-point this year at 28%. Yeah, good try. You tried. I applaud the effort. When you can take something with limited context, post it on Reddit, and you don't have 10 people immediately hating on us, you really failed. You really failed because it's not hard. It's not hard, man. It's not hard to get people in there hating on us. So if you can't do it, then you gotta do a little better than that.
Where's the 20 people that would immediately see Blazers Uprise in the title and just come in and say those guys are?
Where are they, man? I miss those guys. Where are they at? Anyway, all in good fun, man. I mean, yeah.
Tori's so negative.
The thing is like I always try and have something I can fall back on with every opinion I come up with. Everything I say. It's not like I just say things just to say things, okay? I'm not saying things for clicks. I'm not saying things for clickbait. I don't do that, okay? If I look at a dude shooting 27% from three and say, like, yeah, percentage-wise, he's just as bad as the guy shooting 28% from three, that's a very literal, factual statement. You can always say, like, and this was the argument with Dame, like, yeah, he's the top 5 shooter ever. Maybe not percentage-wise, but he's not just shooting open catch and shoot. He's shooting all these tough ones off the dribble, and he's shooting a good enough percentage that you have to defend it. So you have to defend him 30 feet away. You can't run drop scheme on him because he'll hit all these crazy threes off the dribble. Like, you have to really play up at the level of the screen because he's not just a catch and shoot guy. His percentage might be a little bit worse than the catch and shoot guy, but all this context makes him a better three-point shooter. So it's never been just percentages. Mm-hmm. But when you're shooting bad, nobody has to respect the shots that you're shooting. So it doesn't matter that you're shooting on more volume. Because nobody has to respect it when you're shooting 27% from three. If anything, that should say, okay, maybe he should shoot fewer threes, but it's like, I don't think he's taking bad threes. A lot of them are open, and he's missing them. That's kind of the problem. Like tonight, a lot of them were open, and he 1 for 8. That's kind of the issue. It's not like Ant where it's like, oh, he's shooting these insane like double sidestep, fadeaway threes with a hand in his face and shooting 30% on them. Like, okay, yeah, well, if he had scoot shots or sharp shots, yeah, he'd be shooting a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So.
Taylor says, imagine failing to hate on Blazers Uprise on Rip City Reddit. That's tough to do.
Taylor knows, man. Taylor knows. So, yeah. Anyway, funny stuff there. Yeah, maybe we just anytime there's a Reddit thread about us, maybe we just read it. For entertainment purposes.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and that's how we get more free promotion. All right, we motivate people. Oh, Raymond says you guys have fallen off. Maybe, yeah, we're not as polarizing as we used to be, Eric. We really got to cook something new up.
I really think it's just this team has made everyone so lack of passion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I feel
like you saw some people like Desmond in chat right now saying now we have to trade Scoot and Sharpe as a package and get rid of them before the league catches on. And
yeah. Anyway, trade talk. Okay, let's get back on track here. The odds-on favorite to trade for Anthony Simons is apparently the Orlando Magic. No surprise there. He's from Orlando. They could use his shot-making, shooting ability. They have really good defenders around him. He would make a lot of sense there. We talked about all offseason. They didn't elect to try and trade for him. The problem is they have no expiring contracts. So you're not gaining any flexibility in the trade. So it's really just about what draft picks you get back. Because I don't know, maybe I don't think they'd trade Anthony Black for him. Really, the only young player that's intriguing to me is maybe Jet Howard, but I think they drafted him a little too high. He just feels like another he's a 3-point shooter, but not that special of a 3-point shooter, and doesn't do enough else well to consistently play, which is a role that we don't have filled. So, maybe he can be our 10th, 11th man shooter that can step in and knock down some threes or something, but that's not why you trade Anthony Simons for that type of guy. So really it's just about the draft picks for me. And here's the thing. If you trade Ant for Cole Anthony's contract, Cole Anthony has barely played this year, isn't particularly good, doesn't really have a place on this team. So if you're going to have his money on the books next year, you really got to get back legitimate value in terms of draft capital. That's the problem with Orlando.
Yeah. I also kept hearing that Orlando, despite what the odds say, isn't really that interested in Anthony, um,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
If you had to guess for a team for him to be traded to, would it be? My guess would be the Pistons. Would you agree with that?
Well, the Pistons weren't even on the
I
list that I
know.
saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently, uh, so we talked about this over the off season, when the before the lotto. Apparently, the Pistons really wanted Anthony Simons, and if they didn't get one of the top couple draft picks, they were very interested in him. Um, Now, I don't know what's changed. Ivy's had a pretty good season. I don't know if they're still interested in Anthony or not. But we mentioned that Paul Reed waiving earlier in the show. That does bring them to a point where they could make a lopsided trade. And it does work financially to send back uh, two like low contracts like Sir Thompson or Ron Holland and someone like Marcus Sasser or someone like that. Maybe Fontecchio. I don't know. One of those guys. Or Fontecchio. Uh, so, yeah, we could send back Anthony. I'm not saying I would do this necessarily, but this is the type of trade I would definitely look at. Anthony for Usser and Sasser, you save like 15 million, I think, or somewhere around there off your books, and you pick up two young guys. Sasser could be, our third guard for a while, until we find another third guard, and you have the upside of either Thompson or Holland. I think that's the type of trade I would look at. Plus, you clear a ton of salary.
Yeah. I don't think you're getting back Asar.
Yeah, probably not. I'm just saying, like that.
It's
That does
hopeful.
work though.
I mean, I would love to get back Asar. I would love to get back Asar. I think it's more likely you get back a draft pick. The thing is, they don't, for a rebuilding team, they don't have any other team's draft picks, if I recall correctly.
Well, they don't even have theirs for the next couple of years because
Yeah.
it's yeah.
So draft capital wise, they're in a rougher spot than most young teams.
But that's why they might give you one of their because I mean they're best case
Ron
scenario
Holland
they're
is maybe
probably
the
the
guy that you're
same
getting.
player. Yeah.
Yeah, but like they
Holland
also
just had his best game of the year.
I know, and they
last
just
game,
drafted
yeah.
him fifth overall, so do they want to give him up so quick? Like it's tough. It's tough to find like value in that. But if his value is that low, I think Detroit might be the top team for him. I don't know what they want to do with Ivy. Maybe they trade Ivy to a third team and you get some of the value that way, and they trade Ivy for like Ant and another piece. And whatever team wants to take a flyer on Ivy can give Detroit that piece and give Portland that first round pick. Mm-hmm. And the team I would think about in terms of like that third team would be Brooklyn with like Cam Johnson, because I think Cam Johnson would be a good fit there. They still have to figure out how to make that salary work, but they got some expendable pieces, some expendable salary. But the thing is, they got Cam Thomas. Do they want to pair Cam Thomas with Jaden Ivey? Probably not. But like hypothetically, Cam Johnson to Detroit for Jaden Ivey, and Brooklyn has a bunch of picks, so maybe Portland gets like a late first, and I don't know. Also, Brooklyn needs a point guard now that they traded Schroeder, so maybe Brooklyn could get Marcus Sasser. Maybe they'd want to take a flyer on him. I do think that is a sneaky trade destination for Cam Johnson if Detroit can stay close to the play-in. I do think that's a team you have to look out for. But like they just need some shooting. So Simons, Cam Johnson, that's the type of names I think Detroit would be interested in.
Yeah. I also mentioned Grayson Allen if the Suns wanted to get out of the second apron.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they are into the second apron, but
yeah. Since we're talking about the NBA, let's take a quick look at BetUS with odds to win the championship. Okay. So Boston right now plus 225, OKC plus 375. All right, where are your Portland Trailblazers? They're down here at plus 100,000, tied with the Raptors, Jazz, Hornets, Nets, Wizards, and Pistons. All right, you got the Spurs plus 2,500. Chicago Bulls also plus 1,000. These aren't quite in order, but you got the favorites right now is OKC and Boston clearly. Milwaukee is plus 2,000. So if you want to play some money on Milwaukee and root for Dame, you can. Use promo code YouTube 150. Get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your next two up to 2,000. If you're feeling confident about any of these teams, you can get some odds right here. I mean, Philadelphia plus 4,000. If that line was lower, I would recommend it because I still think they turned it around. I still think, with Embiid, with Maxey, McCain should return late in the season. Paul George, if he picks it up like that. You got some talent there. So if you want to take a shot on like a long shot, then I don't know, like Golden State right now plus 1,800. If they're really active at the trade deadline, they could become a team that could win it all. They have the pedigree. So I kind of like that plus 1,800 because I think Golden State's going to be super aggressive at the deadline. Phoenix with KD is 13-2. So plus 2,200 I think are pretty good odds there. Do you agree with those takes, and is there any odds that you really like just for any of these teams?
Well, it's kind of hard to see considering it's out of order.
Yeah.
What are the Grizzlies at?
The Grizzlies are currently
5,000 or is that 35?
3,500. I can zoom it in a little bit more if you need.
Yeah, I like what you're saying.
Yeah. Memphis is just are they really contenders? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I was curious if they had really good odds.
Yeah, I like the idea. If you want to get in on action like this on BetUS, I like the idea of going for a team that you think is going to be really aggressive at the deadline and really improve their team, because obviously once they improve their team, their odds are gonna improve, right? So your money, your return is gonna get worse. But if you get in ahead of time, you get the line that you get in on. So like Golden State, they're plus 1,800 right now, which means if you bet 100 and they win the championship, you win 1,800. With that promo code and that bonus, that's even more money. But if they traded for Jimmy Butler, that'd probably go to like plus 1,000. If they somehow pulled off some sort of miracle and trade for like Jimmy Butler and Vucevic or something, it would probably be in the hundreds. Mm-hmm. So you get back hundreds instead of the plus 1,800 total on your $100 bet. So that's the way odds work. I do think it's interesting that that Denver is higher than Golden State and Phoenix. Yeah.
I'll say someone's had a really disappointing season, but could turn it around and could be players to the deadline. Timberwolves, 2,800. That's not bad. And then we saw the Mavericks get there last year. Plus 1,200 isn't the greatest odds, but they could make some moves at the deadline as well, like they did last year.
Yeah. If you're really confident in OKC this year or Boston, then of course, you're still getting more money than you're putting in on either of those teams. The Knicks, I don't know. I'm just not buying the Knicks right now. I'm not really buying the Lakers because I don't trust that front office to actually get that team to where it needs to be. The Clippers have played good basketball and they'll get Kawhi back, so maybe if Kawhi's healthy, they can have another Toronto Raptors-like run. But I don't know, man. Like, if you didn't have Boston, if you didn't have OKC, it would feel like the league's completely wide open right now, which would be a lot of fun. But it just feels like OKC and Boston are on a collision course right now.
Yeah.
I also think Cleveland's been great, right? They're plus 1,200. I think that's maybe a little too high. I still don't know if I buy them as like a team that can win it all yet. Mm-hmm. Houston plus 3,500 just for some other odds there. Orlando, if they're aggressive at the deadline, plus 4,500 isn't bad. They can defend. I mean, they're a sneaky team as well. Anyway, that's BetUS.
Once they're healthy too.
Yeah, once they're healthy. I mean, they played really well considering the guys they've been missing. Without Franz, without Paulo. So yeah, you can get in promo code YouTube 150 if you want in on that action with BetUS. Shout out to them for sponsoring the postgame show. Alrighty, so Once again, we'll take a look at the schedule ahead. Actually, was there any trade talk that we missed out on that we should have
Yeah,
talked about?
we
I
did
feel like I
not
missed something.
mention the Evan Sider report today that
Oh
the
yeah.
Blazers have lowered, put this in quotation marks, you're going to disagree, but they've lowered their asking price. Instead of 2 first-round picks for Jeremy Grant, they're now asking for 1 first and a promising young player, Keon Schultz.
Yeah.
Um,
That
uh,
is so. You don't think that's lowering their asking price? I think it is because Kern's definition of a promising young player is like Keon Johnson.
yes, but to me, when you say 2 first-round picks, that if you get a player that was taken in the first, like if we got someone we talked about, Devin Carter from Sacramento King, he was just taken from in the first round last year or this last draft. I think you could justify that as being a second first round pick. I don't think that's that much different than them trading you two
Yeah,
first.
but where does Devin Carter go in this year's draft?
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you got a lotto protected pick or Devin Carter, I don't. It's kind of 50-50 where what I'd
Yeah,
choose
I
right now.
just think a promising young prospect could be much lower than Devin Carter. I feel like Jalen Uchafino could
Yeah,
qualify as
no,
that.
I understand that. Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, that better not be the case.
Taylor Packer says a certain media member also came out and denied this exact report by Sidery. Yeah, of course he
Yeah.
did.
Well, he's on record as saying 2 first and Jarris Walker is not enough for Jeremy Grant. So,
Which is freaking stupid, man.
yeah,
This is the same dude that said Norman Powell should get a lot of money, and then once he got $18 million a year for 5 years, said that was like a bad contract. Now Norman Powell's better than Jeremy Grant, and Jeremy Grant $30 million a year is somehow worth more than 2 first-round pick and Jarris Walker, who's a recent 7th overall pick, and is probably worth 2 firsts himself. Jeremy Grant is greater than 4 firsts. That's freaking ludicrous. I mean, this dude, this media member that you're talking about, Taylor, just says stuff. He's full of crap, man. He's full of crap. Like I'm tired. I'm just gonna speak my mind. I just think he's full of crap, and I think he has specific narratives because he's buddy buddy with the GM, and I mean he's even been called out by the beat reporter of the Blazers for defending the Blazers losing at home by 42 to the Utah freaking Jazz. So
remember when was it Brogdon to the who was it that were trying to trade to the Knicks for like Quentin Grimes in a first
yeah,
or something? Um, and I forgot who else was in that trade. So there was another expiring or something, but like Grimes is playing pretty well for Dallas this year. They
yeah.
got him for like nothing, and um, like yeah, we used Brogdon as a salary dump
Yeah.
basically to get Denny.
Yeah.
So like that's the same. We got so much heat for saying we'd accept that trade, remember? And
Yeah. I I think our track record discussing trades is as good as anyone's, and we don't talk to everybody in the league. So I don't know. Sometimes it's just uh, I'll say this: if Neil Olshey gave Jeremy Grant that contract, it wouldn't be seen as good of a contract by certain people.
yeah, well, so Trevin says he said that they wouldn't lower the price when there's no reason to rush it now instead of at the deadline. That's my point. Like they didn't actually lower it; they just made it seem like they were lowering it. You know what I mean? Like to
Yeah,
just
it's
get
like
more
we're
teams
more
involved. It's like
open to trading him. We'll instead
right.
of asking for 2 firsts, we'll take back a player that's worth a first and another first. Like, yeah, so
Because I don't know if this has changed, but you remember me saying last year that they were not interested in draft capital as much as they should be. They were interested in young players. That turned out to be true with the Deni Avdija that gave up one of their first. I had said for weeks that they were for some reason looking to trade and didn't want that second first round pick, and it made no sense. And then we had that situation where that same person said that the Blazers were actually happy they fell in the lottery because it helped save them salary or some crap like that, right?
yeah.
Like they didn't want to draft someone at 3 and pay them that much money in their situation. Um, So yeah, I mean the Blazers. I don't know if that's changed at all, but in the past they seem to have valued players that are better fits like Deni Avdija on
Yeah.
their roster than they have acquiring draft capital. So I don't know. I don't know what the difference is, but the same thing like when they got Matisse, instead of just keeping those second round picks and stuff, and then they give away second round picks in this last draft. I don't know if they're that concerned about getting draft capital as they are finding guys that they want on the roster long term.
Yeah, but I mean, you can choose what prospect to take that fits your team.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't really understand
and get draft capital.
yeah, I don't really understand that line of thinking. Yeah, sorry, I've just been reading chat. I mean,
I think
at the end of the day, so I had a tweet that said like people gave me crap when I said it's time to lower the asking price. At the end of the day, I just highly doubt they're getting 2 first-round picks. Highly doubt it. Okay? And if you're out here saying he's worth more than 2 first-round picks in Jarris Walker, you are delusional. Like, they're not getting back Jarris Walker and 2 first-round picks and extra. There's just no freaking way. That is more wrong than me sitting here saying, I don't think they'll get back 2 first-round picks, and then they got back 2 first-round picks. Because you're talking about the difference of, like, a pick. Or, a couple seconds compared to a first. 2 first Jarris Walker and more being worth Jeremy Grant is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And if that's people's expectation, they're going to be very disappointed. But, of course, they'll pivot to, like, oh, well, they'll have some sort of excuse for Joe not being able to reach those lofty prices for Jeremy Grant. It's funny because if you think 2 firsts and Jarris Walker is worth Jeremy Grant, then you're out here defending Jeremy Grant getting traded for a first and a Jalen Hood-Shafito type prospect, then, I mean, that just kind of shows your hand, in my opinion, that it's all about trying to make Cronin sound good. Because if Olshey gave Grant this contract, nobody would be sitting here saying Grant's contract and his value is that high. Nobody would. I mean, people were saying Norm was worth nothing, and you had to attach Rocco, who still had some value at that point, to Norm just to get nothing for him. Because he's making $18 million a year. It's just such a drastic difference. Norm basically had negative value, and Grant has this much value. It's just, I just feel bad for people that can't see through the crap, but that's their choice. Jarris Walker alone is a great return for Jeremy Grant. Absolutely agree. Maybe we'll end up defending Joe Cronin when he gets back for Jeremy Grant because there's going to be a bunch of people that expect him to get back like some massive trade package. We'll turn into cronies, Eric.
Yeah.
That'll be quite a time.
Yeah, One Piece. I'll tell you right now, if we got back Devin Carter or Jalen Tyson along with even if it's a protected first round pick, like I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Very cool with that. I will throw a parade to welcome Jalen Tyson to Rip City.
Yeah.
Jarris Walker and who else to match salary? I mean,
we've talked about this before. It's tough for the Pacers to match.
They can. So if they trade Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson, I don't know how much they value Isaiah Jackson anymore, but like those 2 plus Walker is 13 mil. So it's like slightly more than Rob will.
We were talking about for Grant though.
Oh yeah, but I'm just being. We were talking about it earlier for Robert Williams.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be top in. I mean, if it's Grant, you're talking about top in. Walker is 20 mil. And if they want to duck the tax, they're a couple million over, so they'd have to trade out another 12 mil. And the only way they get there is basically trading Nesmith or McConnell, and both those guys are really solid role players for them.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. That's why I don't think Jeremy Grant makes sense for them. I think Robert Williams does, but the thing is, if you're trying to get Jarris Walker for Robert Williams, like, if they're really trying to duck the tax, they also have to trade probably Obi Toppin. And he has some value, so then it's like the gap between Jeremy and what you're getting back is even bigger, and you have to find a way to fill that gap in terms of value.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. I don't think they land Jarris Walker, but that's like the number one young player that if they want players instead of picks, that's the number one guy to take a chance on, in my opinion. Anyway. That's it for trade talk. Is there anything else I missed? There's been a lot of rumors, which is fun. We'll go live if there's a trade. Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us and pull one off soon. We're entering that time of year.
Man, if the Kings had the salary to trade for both Rob Will and Grant, I think that makes so much sense for them, but unfortunately they don't.
You sure?
Yeah, because I doubt they're trading. Well, they're obviously not trading Sabonis, Fox, or DeRozan. So.
Oh, you said Sacramento. I thought you said the Lakers.
No. Monk, they're probably not trading, so that leaves Herter, Trey Lyles, Devin Carter, and then all the rest of their salaries are really low. So.
Yeah. We're not trading Sharpe, Desmond. Stop, bro.
Come on, Desmond. I already asked you to stop.
Trading Sharpe makes no sense.
Quit trying to make this dream of yours that the Blazers are somehow a play-in team this year because you guaranteed they'd be a top 4 seed. Stop trying to make that happen. It's not happening, dude. We are rebuilding. We suck. We're not that team you think we are. So please adjust your comments on this channel towards that. Yeah. Anyone over the age of 27, Desmond Ballard, except for Kyle Kuzma apparently, just forget about posing any trades to us because we're going to say no.
Yeah, I mean, you got to maximize the window of opportunity that you have. The window of opportunity they have is in the future. So you want guys that will be at their peak during that window. You don't want guys that are going to decline before your team is actually ready to contend. And they're not ready to contend this year, man. They're just not. They're not ready to. Dro, I'm just going to assume you're trolling. Yeah, I mean, I told you guys, even when they had that 3-game winning streak, even when this team might be a play-in team, they're 7-9 or whatever they were. I still told you guys, statistically, this team still is very, very bad. And based on adjusted offensive rating and defensive rating, they're still really, really bad. And what have they done since then? They've lost a ton of games. They are 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 6 in a row. Yeah, they were still very bad, even though their record didn't really reflect the team that they were. And now the record is getting closer to reflecting the team that they are. Right now, they are 27th ranked in adjusted defensive rating and 28th ranked in adjusted offensive rating. They are bottom 5 on both ends of the floor. And they are a bottom 5 rebounding team on the defensive end. They get some offensive rebounds, but they are bottom 5 defensively, bottom 5 on the defensive glass, bottom 5 offensively. Mm-hmm. That's a bad team. That is...
And much like Shaden Sharpe, the team shows flashes of being good occasionally, but that's all they are is flashes. They're not sustainable or consistent enough.
Yep. Blazers right now still last place in defensive rebounding percentage, according to dunksandthrees.com. They also foul the 9th most. The Blazers also offensively get to the line the 8th least, 22nd ranked free throw rate. I said they foul the 9th most. They send opponents to the free throw line. They're 21st in opponent free throw rate. They're 22nd in their own free throw rate. You just look across the board analytically. They are bad in so many areas. Their adjusted net rating is second to last, 29th. I will say this. They are a better team without Deandre Ayton. They're 4-5 without Deandre Ayton. They are 4-13 with him. And they were competitive tonight. If Deandre Ayton plays tonight, the Blazers probably lose by more. So you got to get rid of him. You got to trade Grant. I mean, right now we're just waiting for it to happen. We're just going to hear a bunch of rumors. We're only bad because we're trying to develop Scoot and Sharp. That is BS, man. That is absolute BS.
You're trying to justify your unrealistic.
Yeah, there is a sample size of neither of those guys on the floor, and the team still is not good. The team is still bad. So if they're bad without both those guys on the floor, how are they only bad because they're trying to develop both those guys? It makes no sense. Tori, when it comes to being pessimistic, goat emoji. Okay, Riley, when it comes to trying to post Reddit clips, is the goat as well.
No, he's not the goat. He failed, remember?
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. Brother, the thing is you might think I'm pessimistic, but if you go back and look at stuff that I've said and concerns that I've raised, and then look at what's happened, I think almost all of it has been very valid. That's the thing. You can sit here saying, Tori's negative, Tori's being pessimistic, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at things after the fact, it's like, okay, what was I wrong about? That's the thing. That's why you're calling me out for being negative or pessimistic instead of calling me out for being wrong about something. Oh, Tori's being pessimistic. He doesn't think Cam Reddish in a new situation in Portland can turn into the player that he was drafted to be. And he has so much potential. And blah, 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 blah. Nah, guys, Cam Reddish isn't that good. He hasn't been good. He's had an opportunity for 4 straight years. Guess what? He's just not that good, guys. Sorry. Oh, you're being so negative. You're being so pessimistic. Whereas Cam Reddish is a minimum player, fringe rotation player right now. But I was a negative guy for not thinking he was going to be amazing. That's the guy I got to be reasonable, then fine. Cool. I'll be that guy. 2 negatives make a positive. Tori and Eric brand. Eric, me and you together are a positive thing because we're both negatives.
I don't want to be negative. You guys. Okay, so as much as I have joked about it, and sure, if the right deal came about, like, this isn't gonna happen. But like, if we could trade Scoot for Amen Thompson right now, yeah. I would do it. You know, like,
it's just not gonna happen,
right? Yeah. But, and I mean, I was very clear that even if keeping the pick, I thought we should have traded Scoot to maximize the value there of that pick. But the thing is, you don't trade players when they are at their worst possible value. Like, it makes no sense. The chances of getting something greater than Scoot back in a trade versus him actually turning into a player, I'd rather just take the chance that he figures it out than give him up for nothing and then just have him off the team. Like, there's no reason to rush that right now. Like, at least give it another year before we decide if we're going to completely give up on Scoot or not. I don't understand that line of thinking. And Sharpe has still shown flashes, despite what you think of figuring it out at times. If he can put it all together, that like I said earlier, the talent and the potential is there with him. Whether he achieves that or not is different, but you're not going to get a ton back for him in a trade. So there's really no upside to moving any of those guys in a rebuild. That's not negative.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it goes back to, I had a video early on this channel saying I didn't like replacing Jake Layman with Mario Hezonja, but like the basis was like Mario Hezonja's not good. Jake Layman worked his way out of the league, so he wasn't that good either, but basically it was like, yeah, Hezonja's not that good. And the whole comment section is, Mario's fine, he has a chance to develop in our system. Like, you can go back and find the video, look through the comments, but it's
they will fix him.
Yeah. We were negative on the GP2 stuff and people thought we were insane, but it was like, okay, you guys have all complained about us not having enough size. How are you now championing a move where we got a 6'2" wing that only had one decent season in like a perfect situation for himself, and we paid the full MLE and hard capped ourselves for him. Like, but raising those questions, super negative. You guys are so negative. You guys are so negative. When I bring up how it's not exactly what you want to hear, Gary Payton going on a podcast with like a Warriors podcast and saying he went to Portland for the money, like jokingly, but me saying, yeah, that's not exactly what you'd want to hear him say. Got a ton of heat for that. So negative. So ridiculous. Turns out he only came here for the money and wanted to go back to Golden State. Didn't even want to play. So, I mean, there's just so many. Eric, there's so many situations where it's like, those Uprise guys are so negative. And then at the end, it's like, oh, those Uprise guys, like, yeah, they were so negative, but they were right.
Well, it's even like going back to the offseason when we were going to sign DeAndre Ayton, remember, and let Nurkic walk and all that stuff. And we tried telling you guys that stuff wasn't going to happen. We were just going to re-sign Anthony and Nurk, and there goes all our cap space. But, yeah, no one listened to us. $60 million in cap space. Yeah. Drosis Azonia was good. We just had Dame in front of him for some reason. Yeah, how dare we play Dame ahead of Hazonia? Like, he was just being held back by Dame.
It's so funny reading back through some of these comments. I guess I can put them on the screen, just because we're going through comments today. But you know, dude, seriously, Mario is like 3 times the player Layman is, much higher ceiling, and he fits what we need much better. Fits what need? A 32% 3-point shooter who's an average at best defender and has a higher turnover percentage than assist percentage for his career. Dude, I did not think you saw Hazonia play. That is the problem. I would take Hazonia anytime over Layman. It's like, I watched him a few times, not good. Statistically, he's horrible. Are the stats wrong? See, like, I'm not trying to analyze things off of emotion, hoping he's going to be good. It's like, okay, what has he done? What has he actually done? Stats are a reflection of what he's actually done. If the stats are terrible, like, okay, he hasn't made threes. He turns over the ball more than he assisted. Like, he doesn't have a fit. So, yeah, it's always funny. I'll do this sometimes where I go back through videos. You must not have played on any teams, bro. Oh, man.
Yeah, Nathan says, when I first started watching you guys during the Dame trade time, I thought you guys were negative, but as I watched you more, I realized it wasn't the truth. Maybe new viewers think you're negative. That for sure happens, I think. People tune in for a little bit and see we're negative. But, I mean, it's frustrating because, like, we screw up the Dame situation. We never really gave him a chance to see what he could do with a good team. And then, you know, like, we're not doing a very good job of rebuilding and acquiring assets and things like that. It's frustrating, man. And now we're sitting here wondering if we have a star, how we're going to get a star on this roster. And that's probably the most important thing. So, and obviously, the thing that's hilarious, though, is you can call us negative all you want, but 60 to 70% of Blazer fans completely tuned out from even watching the games. Yet here we are breaking down every single game for years. Always here, always watching the games and stuff. Like, who's more negative? A person who doesn't even follow the team anymore, or someone who's been here through all the downs and still here talking about the team, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This was from 2023 trade deadline. And now, like, some of these people come in with just, like, voicing their opinions in a respectful way. No, this dude didn't. Pull your head out of your ass, pal. Okay, cool. I'll go in on this. I think the majority of NBA fans, this was when we traded Josh Hart for the pick that became Chris Murray and got back Matisse and Cam Reddish. Josh Hart was a rental and everyone knew it. For us to get the pick protected and back-end rotation pieces, good to great value. Okay. Because we got Cam Reddish and Chris Murray is good to great value for Hart. Okay. Goes on to say,
a lot of people like Matisse and Cam Reddish, man.
If you think Matisse and Cam Reddish are such a massive downgrade on offense, then you need to do your own research and see their impact on the offensive end is slightly less valuable than Hart's, but Matisse clearly surpasses Hart with ease on the defensive side. There are hundreds of metrics to back this up. Choose your own source. Okay, says there's stuff that backs this up, but doesn't tell me what. Anyway. Let's see. I'm sure there's more. We really have Kevin Knox, Keon Johnson, and Justice Winslow on the same team. That was a fun time. Love your guys' channel, but disagree on the harsh criticism of this year's trade deadline. If we truly want to commit to the Dame timeline, the upcoming summer is the period to do it. The Hart trade was a really good one for us.
Yeah.
The Knicks pick.
All right.
The Knicks pick could turn out to be the piece that can bring us back the pick we owe to Chicago. This unlocks major trade opportunities in the summer, as we could trade all future first-round picks, and we would still have our own lottery pick in the 2023 draft, which was a reasonable opinion, actually. But
Yeah, well, a lot of people bought the kicking the can down the road crap from Cronin because for some reason that was their biggest complaint about Neil Olshey. And then Cronin comes in and does the exact same thing and flat out lies to every single one of us for a couple of years. And then so I don't necessarily blame some of these people, but they definitely did not. And just so anyone does not think this is hindsight, at the trade deadline, I wrote an article when we had BlazersUprise.com about how I believe the Blazers are not trying to win around Dame. They are actually just trying to save as much money as possible, and that these trades were meant to clear salary, not to be better this next year. And don't be surprised if they don't make any moves for Dame this summer. And that unfortunately turned out to be right. But I got a lot of heat for that too.
Yeah, y'all have a negative bias worldview, very unhealthy, LOL. I said realistic worldview. Sugarcoating is unhealthy. Sugar's unhealthy for you. Don't sugarcoat everything. Start a Blazers pod just to become haters. Take down that merch behind you. Y'all ain't fans. Go back to cheering on the 49ers. Well, 49ers suck now too, so I guess we're fans of nobody. We have picks now for a future trade in the offseason. We were going nowhere this season anyway. I said we're going nowhere next season too. We literally didn't commit to a direction whatsoever. Picks for a trade. What salary chips do we have to go match salary for someone? Guess what? We didn't do a freaking trade. But nobody looked at the salary that we'd have to trade out to bring anyone in.
That's what I pointed out too, was that when you make trades like this to have free agents, you lack the ability to make trades. And we basically set it up to where we had to trade Anthony and Nurk, and we had no other option to trade out to attach to the third pick and the 23rd pick to get value. And no one could see that.
Yep. Anyway. Yeah, so it's always fun to go back through and look at comments like this and just see, like, I mean, there's some stuff I was wrong. Like, I wanted to take a flyer on Jalen McDaniels, but the thing is like, we didn't know if he could be good or not. He was having an okay season, so, like, take a flyer on the unknown, because even if he doesn't pan out, at least he could be something good, compared to, like, trading for somebody like Matisse, where you know exactly what he is, and he's not playable in a playoff rotation, and he doesn't fit a rebuild, so he doesn't fit anything. But now it's like most people would just take an expiring from Thibault, I think. But not wanting to match his contract was ludicrous. I mean, I don't know, man. Anyway.
Yep, that's right, Taylor Packer. That's exactly right. Well, I remember that now. I wanted Wiseman in the Gary Payton deal because then we'd have a contract to sign. And that was the only reason why I wanted him. Plus, I mean, you could have played him a little bit that year too and had a big man to try and develop. But, yeah, that would have been nice. But we didn't have anyone to trade.
Yeah. Yep. But everybody was saying, we now can make so many trades this summer. Yeah, the trade we can make is trading Dame. Goodbye. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Like, okay, we're negative, but I don't know. I think most of the time when we're negative or pessimistic, it's very reasonable and we give reasons why. And other people are just saying, Cronin has a plan to build around Dame. He has a plan. Just you wait and see. And then basically Cronin does nothing, drafts his point guard replacement, didn't trade the pick like he implied or straight up told Dame, and then Dame asks out like, oh, Cronin didn't have anything he could do. What do you expect from him? Dame's demanding a trade. Now you got to trade him. Like, that's what certain media people were telling you. The whole time we're sitting there like, yeah, so 2 weeks before the draft, Eric was basically saying like, yeah, they're not trading the pick. They've decided they don't want to trade the pick. While these media people were still saying, yeah, they're going to try and trade it. They're going to try and trade it.
No, up until draft day, remember they were saying they haven't traded the pick yet because they're waiting for number 3 to make sure it's Scoot, and then it'll have all kinds of value.
Yep.
Meanwhile, they were like, if it's Scoot, we're keeping him, and we don't care.
Yep, and you were saying that 2 weeks before. But yeah, you're not plugged in. You don't talk to people in the league like the other guy does. And you're just negative. You're just being pessimistic. When we had a depressing stream 2 weeks before, people were like, you guys are so pessimistic. You guys are so negative. When we were like, and I believed you were saying like, yeah, they're going to keep a pick and it's going to result in like Dame being pissed off and probably asking out. Shout out to you guys if you remember that stream 2 months before the draft where we drafted Scoot.
Well, then the day of the draft, remember we started off the draft stream saying the same thing, and everyone was like, what are you talking about? We're going to trade it. And I'm like, no, I'm depressed because I think we're going to keep it. We're going to get Scoot because I had a feeling the Hornets were going to take Miller, and I knew that was right then that was going to be the end of things because Dame was not having it.
Yep. But, since you're not credentialed, since you don't talk to enough people in the league, you don't know what you're talking about, is the attitude from who. So that's why we don't F with them, man. That's why we don't F with them. So listen, like, when there's things that we think are positive, we tell you guys. Like, I like the Avdija trade. I still like the Avdija trade. I came around on the Clingan pick. I wasn't on board at first, and it wasn't because he was the Blazers pick. Like, just didn't know how his game would translate and the upside of it. But, like, I like Clingan now, man. I've come around on that. They got 2 guys that I like this past offseason. And I have told you guys that I like these guys a lot. I just said on the stream, I think they're the top 2 most consistently impactful, positive contributors on this team right now. So, that's being positive about something. When we're negative, man, it's like, I don't ever remember being super negative on something or a player and then, like, being clearly proven wrong. I just don't.
Carmelo Anthony, idiot.
And listen, if I was, guess what? I'm not supposed to be right all the time. Nobody's going to be right all the time. Everybody's going to be wrong about something. So it doesn't prove anything if I'm wrong one time for being negative. But it's like, shoot, man, just look at the track record of everything. I think our track record is as good as anybody out there that has credentials or is plugged into the league or this or that. And I think it's pretty easy to go to battle for our track record. I wasn't sitting here telling you Deandre Ayton was going to prove to everybody why he's the number 1 overall pick and was going to be a star in Portland when the Blazers traded for him. That wasn't me. That wasn't us. Okay? We were the ones. I mean, it's just another thing, Eric. We were the ones saying, yeah, I don't think he's going to be much different. I think you're still going to have the same issues. Like, cool, take a flyer on him, great, but I'm not expecting much more than what he's already shown. While other people were on the radio being very positive. So.
Because asked if I was just a guess or if I had some info. I would tell you if it's just my opinion or a guess versus what I heard. And I definitely was being told for months leading up to the draft that the Blazers were more likely to rebuild than actually build a win around Dame. I didn't want to believe it. I told Tori for almost a year before that like I kept hearing that, but like everything Cronin says differently, so I'm going to trust what he says, and it all turned out to be right, and that's part of the reason why I was so pissed and frustrated during the whole offseason when that happened.
Yep. Like, I will, guys, there's a reason why I'm not just going to necessarily trust everything Eric hears or says, and I'm not going to trust everything I hear or say.
I mean, I don't even trust everything I hear. That's why I don't even
Yeah.
say it. Like, you know?
Like I'll say stuff that I'm like I don't know, but like I'll word it like okay I've heard this. I don't know if it's true or not. Take it with a grain of salt because I don't know, but apparently this is the way things are, and that's what I said with Ayton with the whole illness thing.
Mhm.
But also logically it makes sense. So if I can logically explain it, then I'm more likely to believe it. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's like Eric. I would believe as much as anybody with what he hears because he's been right a lot. But people want to make it out
Well,
like he's not, and it's crazy to me.
I got burned with the Dame to Miami stuff, and I'll be real with you guys. I I heard Dame and his cousin were out at a club celebrating because they were told a trade to Miami was imminent.
Do you want to share
Uh,
who you heard this from?
I mean, I just mentioned two names. You can
Yeah.
take which name I heard that from. So like you can tell me. They were literally celebrating. Dame goes on Twitter, starts liking and replying to a bunch of tweets. Right after I hear that, he's all emotional on Twitter and being all sentimental and stuff and like I heard he like got really he really went into celebration mode and all this kind of stuff and he believed that somehow he was told by his agent or something that the Blazers were going to re-engage with Miami and that he was being traded to Miami. And I so what what am I supposed to say? Like, no, he's not going to get traded to Miami. Like, I believed like Dame believed, and
Yeah.
that's why Dame was frustrated when he got traded to Milwaukee. He thought because I didn't know that he had opened it up or talked to two other teams and did that. I later found out he did that trying to get Miami to up their value or be serious about their offer, and it backfired on him, and Cronin just ended up trading him to one of those two teams. So it didn't work out for him, but Dame thought it did work, and that what him and his agent were doing did work out, and he thought he was going to be traded to Miami within the next couple days. And so it was a shock to both him and myself, obviously, that he wasn't traded there. But like that's, I heard direct like from someone who was out partying with him because
Yeah.
he was going to get what he wanted. Like I'm sorry that ended up being false, but like um, Dame himself on that Thursday night before he was traded, 6 days before he was traded, thought for sure he was being traded to Miami. And so that's not necessarily wrong info. Dame just was told, like, was
Yeah.
lied to, basically. Once again, the final lie to this puzzle, like after being lied to for years with all other stuff too. Um, and so, like, all the stuff came out though. Woj, Chris Haynes, all those guys came out with info that I had been telling you guys since the trade deadline the previous year that Dame was promised if they did not get Victor Wembanyama, they would 100% trade the pick if he was willing to sit out and tank, and that was the only way they could get better. Like all those comments that were told to Tori in the chat, that was stuff that they were telling Dame. Oh no, we're setting ourselves up to be big players this summer when they weren't, and all this stuff happened. Um,
But you
and
know where those comments came from? They came from people that pay attention to other media members and were misled.
right,
And that's the stuff we have to fight against.
yep. So yes, I ended up being wrong on that, and I shouldn't have worded it like he's for sure being traded to Miami or
Yeah.
whatever. But I heard that he was. So like, what am I supposed to say? Like
Yeah.
that ended up being wrong. So yeah,
Yep. Yep. So wild times, man. Wild times. But yeah, I mean, it's basically you got people that will pitch the narrative that this organization wants them to pitch, and Eric for not going along with that will try and be discredited over anything. So something like that happens, and it's the perfect opportunity. It's the perfect opportunity to just tear him down.
I also was the only person saying that we should be worried about Gary Payton for months before
Yeah.
He
in
was
his
worried,
return, yeah.
and no one was saying anything about his updates. I always had an update weeks before anyone
Yeah.
else did. And then I was off by one game when he was returning because he's a bitch and didn't want to play against Golden State because like he's a pansy.
Yeah.
And no, that allows them to go off on me.
Yeah. 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 This is just crazy stuff, man. I mean, yeah, Eric called the Grant trade way early. Yeah, like two months before, with like details on kind of the way it'd go down and the type of value, and yeah, I mean, it's just funny because Eric's proven himself, but you know,
I'm not trying to be anything. I just like hear stuff I share with you guys. Like I'm not even
yeah.
trying to.
I
Like,
mean,
I don't want Danny Morane's
you are
job
something though. You are something though because
No,
you have a platform, you know, and you got a lot, you got info, so you definitely are something. You know, I know you always say like I try not to be anything, and you're right. You know, I know, but also you are someone. So just the way it is, it's good. It's a good thing. Yeah, it's. Have you heard anything recently that you want to share? Or? Because I don't even ask you anymore. I just figure like you'll say something if you hear something. And
I have asked recently, haven't gotten much because I don't think the Blazers know what they're doing. To be honest, like I don't think they really have a plan. They're just hoping something happens with their players right now. So yeah. I mean, I did say before, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I did hear the Detroit stuff before the lotto last year that they were interested in Anthony, and as long as they didn't get one of the top couple picks, that might be in play. But that ended up, I think they ended up firing Monty, and I think they let their GM go. So I don't know if that's still true or not, but like that at the time it was. So people were asking about the Jaylen Brown stuff. So it's funny because like we'll never know the answer to this, but
unless there's a podcast after the fact,
I am 100% convinced the Celtics did not want to give Jaylen Brown at the time what was the highest contract in NBA history. They did not want to do it. They were coming off another disappointing loss in the playoffs, and this is all hindsight because they had an awesome year last year and win the championship. But I believe, even though it doesn't seem logical, but look at their owner now. Like he's looking to sell the team because the salary is going to get into this crazy amount if you want to keep everyone.
Yeah.
And they end up winning a championship, so you can't question it now. But at the time, I believe, and I was told that the Boston Celtics would be interested in moving on from Jaylen Brown in exchange for Anthony Simons and the number 3 pick. And they thought that they could, with those two assets, both Anthony and Scoot, obviously, that they would be just as good as they were with Jaylen Brown because they still had Tatum and they still had pieces around that. And so what I was told happened was at some point the Blazers just stopped even calling teams that they thought had a chance of accepting offers or would. So the only teams they fake traded with or offered trades were teams like Mikal Bridges in Brooklyn, who was thought to be untouchable. And they knew that. And so they could come out and say, oh, we're trying to trade the number 3 pick for Mikal Bridges, but they didn't want that, right? They could leak that to the media, and then Brooklyn looks stupid or whatever. But like, they only did offers Zion Williamson, players that weren't actually available, but they tried to make it look like they were actively searching it just to fool that they actually were trying to move that pick. I don't believe they actually even engaged or talked to Boston, according to what I heard, even though Boston would have been open to talking to them about it.
Yeah.
And as One Piece says, Boston got really lucky. They definitely dodged a bullet because that would have been pretty bad for them probably.
Oh my God, Gray. You're not ever invisible. Why do you always ask this and the answer is always no?
Yeah.
We're talking about in depth about stuff that happened, man.
And for the record, the reason why I know this was happening was because the same person who told me that Jeremy Grant was staying at Dame's house and working out with him before anyone else knew that, that person told me that both Jaylen Brown, Jeremy Grant, and Damian Lillard were all talking on the phone about him playing in Portland, and Jaylen Brown was open to that too. He was getting fed up in Boston, and he was frustrated because it didn't look like they wanted to offer him a max as well. And so they were definitely talking. Jaylen and Jeremy are friends apparently, and Jaylen Brown, I guess, was open to coming to Portland. So they were going to team up, I guess, and so that also pissed Dame off that Portland didn't even try to get Jaylen Brown when he was maybe available.
Yeah.
But then we had all those people saying, "Oh, we wouldn't have been good enough with Jaylen Brown." Right?
Yeah. Yeah. 3 for Jaylen Brown would have been horrible. 3 for Zion would have been horrible. 3 for anyone in the league besides Wemby or Giannis would have been absolutely horrible. So, Riley, I take it you're a huge Scoot fan then? Since trading Scoot would have ruined our future, you think Scoot is our future? Doesn't he hate Scoot?
I don't know.
Anyway. Oh God. Riley, you're a loser, man. If you're booing Dame his first game back, it's just loser stuff, man. Anyway. Go post a Reddit clip of me saying that to you. What a joke. Anyway. Anything else, Eric?
Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good night. See you tomorrow on our second channel for Blazers Uprise Live, and then not another stream till Thursday.
Yeah, schedule ahead.
Unless there's a trade.
Yeah, this is a schedule ahead. So on Thursday, we'll have our Picks Against the Spread stream, 6 games tomorrow on our second channel. And then we'll have 2 streams on Thursday, Picks Against the Spread, and then that post-game show where we'll unveil Big Board 2.0s, our second iterations of our Big Board. And we're back to having a bunch of games. We'll have a members night next Saturday. We'll have a couple things for members. So make sure you click the join button, become a member, and check out that stream. Then we'll do a Christmas giveaway on the 23rd. And then the day after Christmas, we'll have a call-in night. We play the Mavericks a couple times. We play them 3 times in a 12-game stretch. And then we'll wrap up the new year with Philadelphia. We'll have a New Year's night. Don't know exactly what we're going to do for that, but might have to get some 2025 glasses or something. Should be fun. But anyway, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night and a good upcoming week. I'm going to enjoy resting my voice, man, because it's been live for a while with the watch party on the Suns channel and this super long post-game stream. Just a lot to get into, man, and a lot that we covered in this one. So hopefully you enjoyed. ShopBet US. Check them out. And we are out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!